The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Zack Sabre Jr., New Japan Cup winner 2018. And you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style with my mates. Enjoy.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy, Donovan, and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith.
Los Ingonables.
On today's show, we will be reviewing both nights of Wrestle Kingdom 14 and New Year's Dash and covering all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. You can support our show by subscribing to the Social Suplex Podcast Network on the podcast app of your choice, or subscribing to Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can get all the podcasts and columns over at socialsuplex.com. Make sure you check out our Pro Wrestling Tees store, prowrestlingtees.com/socialsuplex. That's where you can get your official Keeping It Strong Style t-shirt. And if you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and clicking on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo.
We got our first donation already.
That's right, we did. So shout out to that. So yeah, if you support the show, you can donate to the whole network. You can donate to your favorite show. socialsuplex.com/donate.
You can donate to your favorite podcaster, singular. Doesn't have to be the show, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, God. I shouldn't have said that because it's going to be like, this one's for Jeremy. This one's for Jeremy.
But yeah, so, man, Wrestle Kingdom weekend, man.
Do you feel like you have a hangover? Like a wrestling hangover?
I do, man.
I do too, man.
And also, real quick, too, shout out to everybody who's downloaded the Voices of Wrestling 2019 New Japan Year End ebook. I saw it was in the best-selling in the wrestling section on Amazon, and one of the most profitable books they've had, I think, so far. So thanks to everybody who checked that out and commented on my Bullet Club is Fine essay that was in there. So if you haven't yet, go check that out. Voicesofwrestling.com in the sidebar. They got the links there to the year-end ebook. It is a pay-what-you-want model. If you go through PayHip, you could get it for free if you want to, or you can get the suggested $5.99 or give more. Or if you go to Amazon, it's just the flat $5.99. So check that out. But yeah, man.
Proud of you, bro.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you for your contribution to the book.
Yeah, shout out to all the new followers that we've kind of gotten over the weekend too from the book and just like live tweeting and all that stuff. So
we gotten a lot of followers.
Yeah, and shout out to I'm pretty sure we got some new listeners too, because on the Keeping It Strong Style feed, numbers were up. And numbers are up on the Social Suplex feed also on both feeds. So shout out to all the new listeners. Shout out to Sir Sam, who embedded our episode on the Lords of Pain prediction column that we did. I know a lot of traffic came in from that.
Yeah, see, I feel bad, bro. Like, I feel like we're bad friends. We keep doing stuff for other people on their shows, and then we do our show. We don't mention it. And then I'm, like, midway through the week, and I'm like, why didn't we, like, mention, like, bro, you've been all over the place. Like, you were on All Things Elite this past week.
Yeah, All Things Elite. So listen to that on the network, doing a Dynamite review with Floyd and talking a little bit of Wrestle Kingdom.
We did a preview with Rance and Kyle over on Chair Shot
Radio.
Chair Shot Radio.
Outsiders
Edge. Good friends of the show. Former Social Suplex alumni. And then let's see. Oh, and then we did stuff with Rich and and James.
That's right. One Nation Radio. They had a lot of special episodes dropping over the last week. They did a year in review for New Japan and Stardom, and that is on one episode. They also did a year in review of AEW, WWE/NXT, which is one episode with Floyd, Amy, and the Implications. But yeah, we were on the New Japan portion of the New Japan Stardom episode.
Oh, and we did a preview with two weeks ago.
Yeah.
I don't even know when it dropped, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it dropped that same week.
Same week.
Yeah. So
yeah, I did see some of the other shows and previews he had. I mean, this is just a busy time of the year. Everyone wants to, obviously it's the second biggest show of the year when it comes to wrestling, outside of WrestleMania. And so, I mean, the coverage is just really, really insane. It's all over the place. And thank you to all of our co-hosts and co-workers, our colleagues, for just including us and letting us work with you guys. And definitely check out the stuff we've been doing with all them. Yeah. And then, 2020 is going to be an exciting time. Like, I'm so excited. It feels weird. It's just that it's old school. We don't got a run sheet.
Yeah,
we don't have news in front of us. We don't have listeners' questions. Like, it feels like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it feels like the very beginning, and
except we didn't have all this high-end equipment.
We didn't put the call out for questions this week because we were trying to avoid spoilers in between both nights of Wrestle Kingdom and New Year's Dash. So next week will be kind of a more normal. We'll have questions. Actually, next week we're going to have our New Japan correspondent, Jamie Spector, on the podcast. He is in Tokyo right now. He attended both nights of Wrestle Kingdom and New Year's Dash and a bunch of other non-New Japan shows as well.
Yeah, he did like the DDT double tag team dash tournament. He was at the All Japan show, which I really want to hear about because he saw the Jake Lee Miyahara match.
Yes.
Big Japan, he was at the Stardom show. He did everything, man.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, man, I was super jealous watching his Instagram feed of all the shows and stuff he was at.
I don't think he went to the Noah show, which I don't know if you heard. Kiyomiya dropped the title to Go Shiozaki. So
I did. I saw that. Yep.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah. So we're gonna have Jamie on the show next week. We'll take all of your post Wrestle Kingdom questions next week and answer those next week. But today's episode, we're gonna dedicate.
I also heard he might have some little treats for us.
Nice.
Or maybe not for us, maybe for listeners of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, tournament season is just shortly around the corner, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep. We'll need a lot of great prizes.
Yep. And, man, it's just, there's a lot going on. I'm just I'm so grateful. We just had 3 awesome cards back to back to back, and we finally have digested all of them. The one thing I feel bad about, I haven't even seen all the backstage comments yet.
Yeah, I have not seen. I've
seen some of them, but I didn't get a chance to check.
I think I watched a couple of them from night one. I didn't get a chance to watch all of them. But yeah, this show we're dedicated to reviewing all of night one, all of night two, and New Year's Dash. So that's going to be all of today's show, reviewing those shows, giving our analysis, our opinions, and kind of outlook on what we think is going to happen coming out of these shows.
And I just want to say this. I'm so stoked to be doing this show. This is one of my favorite shows. This and the award show are always my 2 favorite, obviously. Mm-hmm. And, there's no one else I'd rather be doing it than my partner and co-host, Jeremy Donovan. But I got to tell you, I almost feel a little overwhelmed. With so much coverage, I've heard so much audio in the last 3 days when it comes to Wrestle Kingdom. Good audio, bad audio, mediocre, kind of in the middle, just mid some mid, some gentlemen's threes star type. Freaking, I'm not even talking right today because I'm tired. Just some average stuff, and I just feel the pressure because people really look to this as a resource. And thank you to everyone that's been listening and tweeting out. I've even seen some of the tweets people have been sending out about our preview show, which did really well in the numbers.
Right, yeah. A lot of people, pretty much saying, hey, as you build up into Wrestle Kingdom week, you listen to the Keeping It Strong Style Wrestle Kingdom preview to get you hyped, to get you ready.
And thanks to Chris Samsa as well for letting
shout out to the stat man.
Although I got to say, I'm getting tired of Voice of Wrestling getting shouted out by Kevin Kelly. This man needs to learn. He needs to recognize. There's another New Japan podcast out there, sir. Oh my God. Yo, how about one last thing before we get into this. How about last week when you uploaded the the episode of Reddit and suddenly you like messaged me, you're like, yo, can you go upvote this? Looks like it's getting downvoted. I went and looked and our episode was negative votes in the New Japan Reddit, which is like the most positive Reddit. I was like, what the fuck? I've never seen any episode of ours have a negative downvote. And then Rich jumped in there and he's like, hold up.
Well, the funny thing, which I didn't even tell you, like I had posted it earlier, but instead of doing like my normal link post, because I was trying to get both links to like the Social Suplex feed and the Keeping It Strong Style feed, so people could pick. And then that post got deleted. And then like
what?
I re-uploaded it. Like I just did my normal like link thing I normally did, and just linked it to the Social Suplex feed, and that was the one that was like getting downvoted. And then also our lovely listeners that check out the show every week came in and upvoted and commented. So
yeah, Rich was like, he's like, y'all gonna downvote this show who's gone hard in this forum for over 100 weeks? Come on. And I was like, that's pretty funny. But, it didn't stay downvoted for long, but it was
it skyrocketed.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you to all of our supporters and listeners out there.
But let's get into it, man. Wrestle Kingdom, Day 1, Day 2, and New Year's Dash. This is going to be crazy.
Yeah, so before we get into the matches, you want to talk about the attendance numbers, or should we just
I want to talk about whatever you want to talk about. Let's talk about the attendance numbers.
Okay, so attendance numbers for night 1. So night 1 had an attendance of 40,008, and they had a gate of over $5 million.
Holy crap.
On night 2, we had an attendance of 30,063 with a gate of approximately over $4 million.
That's extremely successful.
And that's not including merchandise.
That's extremely successful. I mean, it depends on how you want to look at it. If you want to look at it as just one show, well, we're looking at the highest drawing, best selling Japanese wrestling show in 2 decades.
Yeah.
If you're looking at it as a package deal, I mean, I'm sure it's been a very, very long time since anything on that island touched the type of business that they just did over this 2-day weekend, regardless of what the opinions are on the Day 5 versus Day 4 numbers. I mean, this can't be seen as anything less than an extreme success.
Yeah, I mean, over 70,000 people, 2 nights, that huge gate number. I'm sure there was a ton of merch sold between both those nights as well. I think overall it was a success. I know a lot of people have been questioning, the Day 2 number. Obviously, they had about 10,000 less than night 1, and it was the Okada Naito main event that has been protected for 2 years now.
Yeah.
And this story that they've been telling for a long time now with Naito and Okada, and Naito finally getting his moment in the Dome. They did not advertise it. They were hoping that there'd be a huge walk up, but they didn't get that.
Well, here's one thing I want to say, and this is probably going to be a central theme throughout this episode. Oftentimes, as wrestling journalists and audio content creators and speculators and fans, we like to draw things in a very black and white sort of parallel. We like to say, oh, this person was an idiot because they did this, they should have done this, when in fact most of the time we don't really know. Other times there are clear examples when things are a mistake, and you can look at it, and anyone who's halfway smart can tell you like, oh, that was a mistake, or oh, that was a success. But sometimes it's not really a matter of whether something was a success or a failure or the right thing or a wrong thing. There's a spectrum that exists out there between decisions, whether you do things the way you want to do them or I do things the way I do them. And it's not necessarily a wrong or a right. There could be a better or a worse, but they still both might be good things. For example, the way New Japan does business is very different culturally than the way most other promotions in the States and abroad do business.
Right. So
there are going to be some decisions that are different. I think one of the big decisions, as an example, that we've called into question ourselves, and it's been for about 6 months, maybe even a year that we've been talking about this, is like, Are they going, well, maybe not a year, but like at least since the G1, so half a year, where we're like, there's no way they're going to do Okada and Naito in the Dome with a one-day build. But that's exactly what they ended up doing. And it's not necessarily a bad decision. I think some people might look at it and say, like, oh, they left money on the table. Well, did they? They did $70K.
Right.
They did $70K. And that's where they wanted to, they told the story that they wanted to tell. They drew better business than they had wanted to. Is it possible that they could have maybe drawn more to a second Dome show? I don't really know. I don't know, because I don't know if you advertise that match for the second Dome night, do you get the big crowd for the first night that they got? You know what I mean?
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what the right thing to do was there. I think they're in a tough position.
Right. There's a lot of different factors that kind of come into play here, and different things could have changed the equation in different ways. You could have potentially, if they did advertise that night two is going to be Okada Naito, maybe you get the 40,000 on night 2 instead of the 40,000 on night 1.
I don't think so. I think the biggest thing and one thing we really learned based off the ticket sales, because the first night was trending to have better ticket sales regardless. We knew this going into it. And we also knew that the first night did not have the hotter matches or the bigger selling ticket. You know what I mean?
Right.
There was more buzz surrounding the potential of the Okada and Naito feud, the Jericho Tanahashi match, and the card top to bottom just looked better on night 2. But January 4th is at this point an institution in the culture. We had a question from one of our listeners just last week, and they're like, well, why don't they move everything to the weekend and do something like this? And it's like, well, January 4th is culturally
tradition.
It's a tradition now. It's been going back since 92. It's really hard for them to kind of break off of that. It's like a holiday at this point. So that 4th date was going to do well regardless. But like, what if they had treated the 5th like it was the bigger show, even more so than they already did? And then the 4th, like, they kind of like tanked those numbers, and then the 5th didn't do well altogether. They did. Right. They could have done worse numbers ultimately. It is possible.
Yeah, there's so many variables to examine and look at and plug in and plug out and see, well, what if this, what if that? At the end of the day, they drew 70,000 2 days. They had a huge gate. Overall, it was a success.
I do think I think the length of the shows could have hypothetically been a factor.
Yeah.
For sure. How long were those shows? Like 5 hours each?
Both. I think both were about 5.
I think I would have been fine with like a 4-hour show.
Right.
Personally. If it was just one big show, then 5 to, I'm not saying go to 6, but like a 5-hour show, we've seen it in the past. Some of those like Wrestle Kingdom 9, 10, 11, things like that have been fantastic.
Right.
But last year's show I liked a lot, but they rushed it and it felt almost too short to me.
Right. It was over and I still wanted more.
Yeah. Whereas with this, it wasn't bad, but 2 days of 5-hour shows back to back was a bit much. That could have played into it. Like if you went to the first, and I'll just say right now, and we'll get into it, I think the first show was better. Even if the second show was more consistent, I think because the peaks of the first show and also the freshness of the audience, it just seemed to be a better show to me anyways. And, but I did think, I was like, with how great that show was, and now with the promo going off the air with Okada Naito, like who wouldn't go to that? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I did think, I was like, maybe they'll see a late rush, like ticket boost based off the people that attended the first night. But then you put in real world factors, and it's like the fatigue of a 5-hour show. Also the travel elements that are in play that a lot of people don't like to really think about, but it's been reported and kind of verified by people that were in Japan. Dave Meltzer among them, that they're like, the 5th, even though it's a Sunday, like the majority of people who are traveling outside of the Tokyo area had to go back to work. And I even brought that up in the group chat. People were kind of like scoffing at it. And I was like, well, keep in mind, it's Japan.
Right.
People don't just like always take holiday for wrestling or take a sick day or use PTO. Like the type of work ethic and work culture this is a place where it's seen as being, have you heard about this? Where like it's seen as being like a really positive thing to fall asleep in public?
No.
Yeah, like they work so hard that if you work so hard and you work such long hour days, like 14, 15-hour work days, that like you have to sleep in public to like catch up on your sleep, and that's seen as like an admirable thing.
Like, this person's a hard worker.
They're a fucking hard worker.
They're working so hard, like he's like falling asleep right here.
It's a huge part of their culture. Happens everywhere, all over, especially in the metropolitan areas. So I mean, that's a big deal. Like if you live far away, you know, you can't take. If you're going to be traveling Monday and then getting in late, you might be taking 2 days of work off. A lot of people are not going to do that for Okada Naito. You know what I mean? That really does play a big factor into them drawing on the 5th. The reality is the 4th is a more beneficial day to promote wrestling, in this case specifically because it was on a Saturday versus the Sunday when people have to go back to work. That's a huge part of it.
Yeah.
I also think the fatigue plays into it. I also think the not knowing what the big show was going to be, probably the cost as well. I mean, there's a lot.
Right. Yeah, like I said, so many variables to why that night 2 didn't go higher.
The other thing, too, is like, you know, we talked about it like when we left the first show. I mean, there's 2 matches on that first show that are so good that you might have said, well, the second night looks good, but nothing's going to touch those first, you know, right. those top 2 matches on the first night. I've already seen the best wrestling I possibly could. Why would I go back? And there is that line of logic as well.
Right. All right. Well,
but these numbers are fantastic.
Yeah.
And anyone who tells you otherwise is ridiculous. Just keep in mind, like 3 or 4 years ago, New Japan couldn't even draw half of the building. I mean, like a 20,000. I mean, I don't have the specific numbers in front of me, but like some of the, like Kenny and Okada, I don't know. Like, I think they did pretty bad numbers in the Dome, if you remember.
I don't remember offhand, but I know it was nowhere near what we've gotten this year.
I think they like literally had dropped that year, and people were kind of like disappointed by the attendance figures for Wrestle Kingdom 11. Yeah, they did 26, which is good. You know, for sure. But
it's not 40.
Yeah,
it's not 30.
Yeah. Yeah, they did 36,000 at Wrestle Kingdom 9 and then dropped to 25 the next year and then 26 the next year. They were hoping for a big like jump with that one. So I mean, you know, we've had some lean years, and for them to do the kind of business that they're doing right now speaks volumes about the popularity of their business over there. So I mean, it's incredible. I mean, even last year they did. This was Wrestle Kingdom what?
Today this
14?
was 14, yeah.
Okay.
The last were 13.
Yeah, they had 43,000 at Wrestle Kingdom 12, 30 just under 35 paid, and then last year they 38,000 paid. So I mean, almost double that. Yeah. Not quite, but almost. That's crazy.
Yeah, so yeah, awesome numbers. And like we mentioned on the show, the Okada Naito match, now that it's been done, is something they can use to draw houses this year. You know, they're doing, you know, Osaka Joe Hall twice, New Beginning in Osaka and Dominion. There's going to be some other big shows. There's rumors of potential big U.S. show in August, since the G1 is being moved from the summer to autumn to, you know, because the Olympics are going to be in Tokyo, to kind of facilitate for that. So there's going to be some bigger shows coming down this year that they could use that Okada Naito match to draw for.
Definitely. And they definitely alluded to that. We'll talk about it. But I also have concerns about the way they're booking Naito. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how marketable that ends up being.
All right, so let's get to it. Night 1. So starting with the pre-show, we had
Mayu Iwatani.
We
didn't get to see that match.
Yeah, the start of the match was dark, and from what I'm hearing, it's not going to be up on Stardom World.
That's what they confirmed on Twitter.
Right. So
I also heard that like it didn't get a huge reception in the Dome at all. Just that like people were cordial. It occurred, but like it wasn't treated as anything that was like extremely special in that environment. And they said it was a good match, not great, but I heard that like Julia didn't seem to be ready, as opposed to some of the other girls who were involved.
Gotcha. I didn't really hear much about that. I heard the results. Mayu and Arisa won because like I mentioned, Hana Kimura and Julia have a rivalry, so they couldn't work together. So that's why
they were like shoving each other before the bell, and that played into the story, miscommunication, tempers rising, that sort of thing. But from what I heard on different podcasts that was there, they basically said everyone else looked fine in the environment, but Julia was extremely green looking. She looked like a deer in headlights, from what I understand. They said that she's very talented, but being an Ice Ribbon, which is even smaller promotion than Stardom, and being, I guess, from what I understand, she's a little like newer to wrestling than the other three girls. Is that correct?
I'm not 100% sure.
That's what they made it sound like, anyways, and. They said, like, she still needs some seasoning. Like, she was the one person that kind of stood out as, like, not being quite ready for the same stage as these girls. Whereas, like, they're like, if they would have brought, like, we've talked about it in the past, like a Kagetsu or Jungle Kiona or one of the other girls that had more seasoning, it might have turned out a little different. But they never were able to, like, get the crowd behind them, really.
Yeah. So following that dark match, we had the first match that aired on the pre-show, with the team of Togi Makabe, Tomioka Hanma, Yuya Mora, and Yota Tsuji taking on the team of Alex Coughlin, Carl Fredericks, Clark Connors, and Toa Hanare.
Yeah, this was really fun. There's a lot of we mentioned it during the preview show. Like, I can't remember the last time that Young Lions really got like a prominent place, even on the pre-show, unless it was like maybe in a Rambo or something of that nature.
Which even then, like, I don't think
I kind of remember Hanare being in one a couple years ago before he changed his gimmick, but that, like, not much.
Right.
So this was a really cool showcase. Nothing egregious here. We definitely talked about how it was going to be like a sort of preview to the ongoing dojo feud between the LA dojo and the Tokyo dojo, and we definitely had elements of that for sure. Anything stand out to you here?
Well, Alex Coughlin, my gosh.
Yeah, bro.
Well, like, what is Shibata feeding that man? Like, don't get me wrong, he was.
Okay. Just breaking news. Sorry, Jeff Cobb is announced official for Josh Barnett's Bloodsport GCW weekend here in Tampa.
Nice.
So I felt like that was relevant. It just popped up. I'm gonna be at that show.
But yeah, Coughlin, man, like he was always jacked, but he looked even bigger.
He's huge.
This weekend.
Huge. He looks like they even made a comment on commentary during News Dash. They're like, what are they feeding those boys down there?
Yeah,
like, something's in the water, quote unquote. I'm like, it's the gas.
Yeah, the gas. But yeah, man. But yeah, all the LA Dojo Young Lions look great. Dude, Toa Hanare looked really great. Great shape. Had a lot of fire. He started implementing some of the Muay Thai and MMA training, the strikes that he's been doing over the last several months into this matchup here.
Josh Smith's Pro Wrestling.
But yeah, they looked really good. Obviously, good old Makabe. I believe he only took one bump, if I remember correctly. It was either this or the Never Gauntlet. I think it was this match where he only.
It was this match. You pointed out. You're like, there's his. There's this one bump on the bump card.
Yeah, there's a one, solid flat back, and that's it.
It might have been. I can't remember if it was either a spine buster or a. It might have been like a what's it called? Samoan drop.
Yeah.
One of those two things.
But yeah, this was, good fun match. Went 7 minutes and 40 seconds. Ends with Toa Hanare hitting the Toa bottom on Yota Tsuji to get the pinfall for his team. So Toa Hanare and the LA Dojo Young Lions get the win here.
Yeah, and you were accurate in your predictions here. I was incorrect. I thought that they would maybe go with Togi Makabe, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I'm glad to be wrong in this case. We've talked a lot about Toa Hanare and his future trajectory in the company, and up till now, it's kind of just been start-stop and not even really that much start.
Right.
Some opportunities, but not a lot of steam behind him. But it feels like things are looking on the up for Toa Hanare going into 2020. He looked just so crisp in this match, so motivated. And I can't wait for what's next for him. And
there was this one spin kick that he hit to like the face of somebody at one of the Young Lions. It was
It's called the Fade to Black.
A black mask.
Or is that what it's called, the Black Mask?
Yeah.
I never know. I fuck everyone's like finisher names up. But yeah, this is good.
Yeah, good stuff. So then the next pre-show match, we had the big anticipated rematch from the World Tag League. Satoshi Kojima and Hiroshi Tenzan taking on the team of Blue Justice, Yuji Nagata, Monster Morning, Manabu Nakanishi. This was, quick 6-minute match between the New Japan dads. That was a nice little outing there.
It was fine. Nobody really embarrassed themselves. It would belabor us to bring up the health ailments and mobility of Tenzan and Nakanishi. Neither of those things are secrets at this point. It's something we talk about every time we discuss them. But with that being said, these guys have a lot of chemistry. They work together so often throughout the years, and they came out there and they had a nice match in the Dome. Over the years, I think almost consistently these guys always end up in the World Tag League opposite one another in, on that one time in the calendar, you're like, man, this is so special. All the New Japan dads, the third generation, but it happens every year. So it's not that special.
Right.
But, every year you're kind of like, I wonder like how much longer we're going to be able to see this. You know what I mean? And this is probably going to be the last major Dome match for the majority of these guys in this match, which is kind of like some people are like, well, why is Tenkozy and, Blue Justice taking up a spot on the Dome? And it's like, because these were like the biggest stars of the 2000s.
These guys are like living legends and were like superstars, in their heyday.
And you know what? For having a short little match like this, I feel like they all worked really hard. Nakanishi got his double, Northern Lights suplex on Tenkozy. Tenzan hit his spots. Nagata looked good. Kojima looked great, just like he has all year. This was fine, and it was fun. You kind of parallel this. I mentioned this during the while we were watching the broadcast. I was like, you kind of compare this to say like the Brothers of Destruction against DX. From what was that from? That was from
one of those Saudi shows, yeah.
Guys that are roughly the same age from the same generation, and you kind of compare that match to this match, and you tell me who you think are the better workers at this stage of their life. You know what I mean?
Right.
I would take this 100 times out of 100.
Yeah, I still haven't watched that Saudi match. To me, Shawn Michaels' last match was against The Undertaker.
So, I mean, this was fine. And, we kind of speculated. We thought with Tenkozy taking a loss during the World Tag League to Blue Justice, which is a team that they almost consistently defeat year after year, and they finally got beat. We thought that maybe they would try to avenge that loss, and it seems like they did. Kojima hitting the Western Lariat on, was it Nakanishi?
Yeah, first they hit him with the Tenkoji cutter, then the strongest arm came in with that big lariat, took him down. 1, 2, 3. Satoshi Kojima gets the big win in the Dome, avenges a loss from the World Tag League, and Bread Club celebrates worldwide.
Yeah, we had a nice little pop. Some of us popped harder than others, but it was good. It was good. And, we are hypothesizing that this maybe will hypothetically lead to a Kojima run in the G1.
I hope so. And, putting my markdom aside, I think Kojima definitely deserves to have that last G1 send-off, just like Nagata had and Tenzan, some of these other guys have had. Yeah. I think he deserves. I know it's going to be tough getting a spot, especially with the new guys coming in, and it seems like for G1, they're trying to definitely keep it as fresh as possible, but I'm hoping that they make room for Kojima just one more time.
Well, Kojima, you just have to stay healthy and look good for a little bit longer than normal, because G1's going to be later this year.
Right.
But one last thing was, did you notice Nakanishi stayed in the ring after everyone else went to the back, and he bowed to everyone and waved and then walked out?
So yeah, maybe that was his.
I don't know that it's like a official retirement. I think they would probably say something if it was, but I'm guessing he probably is taking this as like, given his health, given his mobility, it's probably his last match in the Dome ever.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of which, did you know in 1999 he was supposed to wrestle Goldberg in the Dome?
I did not know that.
Fell through, it didn't happen.
Oh my god.
That was supposed to be a Tokyo Dome match.
Interesting.
Yeah. Maybe it was either that or 2000. One of those 2 years. I can't remember. So let's get to the official start of the show with the 8-man tag team match for the first Jushin Thunder Liger retirement match. We had the team of Naoki Sano, Shinjiro Otani, Tatsuhito Takaiwa, Ryosuke Taguchi, accompanied by Kuniaki Kobayashi, taking on the team of Jushin Thunder Liger, Tatsumi Fujinami, the Great Sasuke, and Tiger Mask, also accompanied by El Samurai. Also, this match was special guest refereed by Norio Honaga, and I loved this match.
We also had the old school New Japan ring announcer.
Yes.
For the give it the full touch, and this was Liger's 3,550th match ever.
Wow.
Great, and all the entrances for these guys. I don't know if you pay attention to their Titan.
Where'd you get that stat?
It was on the commentary.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. And then on my notes here that I'm looking at, it's noted as well.
You took notes during this?
Well,
I'm off rip. No, I know what you're saying. They made all of the special videos related to Liger specifically.
Right. The Titantrons for all the guys showed kind of their matches with Liger.
And connections and just special moments. I thought that was such an awesome touch. I thought every single one of these guys had such a cool entrance. Like, they were short, but like just like you mentioned, the Titantrons were really well done, and then like each guy was kind of given a special moment when he walked out. I mean, we haven't seen someone. I mean, Fujinami specifically, like the reaction to him. I know he's older, but like his freaking kimono or robe was just freak. His robe was awesome, man.
Yeah, great Sasuke. He had a tribute with the half Sasuke, half Liger mask.
Yep.
He wore for his entrance. That was really cool.
Yeah, and a lot of these guys too, like, wore the kind of gear that they wore during the era when they were wrestling with Liger, and a lot of them still wrestle but don't wear that gear. Like, for instance, Sasuke has an orange, almost like Buddhist monk gimmick now, and that's not how he dressed then. But when he came in with the black like Sasuke gear that you might be more familiar with from that era. Same thing with Naoki Sano. He wore like the 89 gear, which I was very surprised by that because I haven't followed his career extensively, but I think it's been a long time since he wore that. I was surprised to see Shinjiro Otani wearing a Wrestle 1 shirt on his way out. But this match, 8 minutes 52 seconds, did not overstay its welcome. It was
exactly what it needed to be.
It was better than what it needed to. Bro, this match could have been a train wreck, and it probably would have literally been fine. This was literally like the WrestleMania 17 over the top rope gimmick battle royal.
Yeah,
where it was terrible, but it was older guys gimmicks. You kind of just like give them the pass. That's what this could have been, and it would have been fine. This was so much better than that. These guys actually like really looked good.
Yeah, dude, Sano and his suicide dive.
Bro,
oh my gosh.
Of everybody who came into the ring, Sano was the guy I was most nervous about because he looks the furthest removed, at least in the face, from how he looked from when I remember him. And but once he took off his robe, he actually cosmetically his
body looked pretty good. Yeah,
his body looked fine. And I remember a few years back when he was like in Noah and in New Japan, where his body did not look good, even like a decade ago. So I mean, or even further back than that. So that was one thing. But he was the one guy that was like huffing and puffing the whole time, and not out of exhaustion, out of nervousness. Like you could see it on his face. He was like, oh shit, there's 40,000 people
watching me.
And like I could tell that he really felt like the moment, like he didn't want to be an embarrassment or anything. And I think he probably did have the roughest go of anyone in the match. That suicide dive was scary, but still freaking awesome.
And then the double stomp where he almost broke his ankles.
Yeah, that was bad. He did a double stomp, but it might not have been this match. I think he might have done it in both matches where he did a giant double drop kick off the top rope.
Yeah,
which was awesome. Everybody really like got their stuff in. This wasn't so much a match about Liger specifically. It was your classic New Japan style match where it was kind of like a throwback. Everybody got their stuff in.
Fujinami's hitting dragon screws and dragon sleepers.
Yes. Tiger Mask. It was funny because we watched this with a lot of our friends, and James was there. And James is definitely, I wouldn't call him a novice to New Japan whatsoever, but I wouldn't call him an expert either. James typically will watch bigger shows with us, and he knows quite a bit, but like he's not watching the road to shows. So when you see a guy like Tiger Mask, he was like actually blown away at how good Tiger Mask looked, and I was like, yeah, it's because I was like, he's a regular wrestler. Like he be in here.
Yeah,
like
Tiger Mask has that big crossbody dive off the top to the outside.
But with that being said, he was working this was like the first 3 nights of Best of the Super Juniors Tiger Mask,
Yeah.
Like Tiger Mask nowadays only works hard those first 3 nights.
Right, when he's winning.
Yeah. And he worked really hard here. He looked good. He hit that awesome outside dive. Everybody looked really good. Otani and Takaiwa looked good.
Dude, Takaiwa was those chops, man.
Bro, he's always been a bruiser. Like, it makes you want to go check out some Otani and Takaiwa, huh?
Yeah, I just want to watch all these dudes now, man.
Bro, I love Naoki Sano. Like, I was so happy that all these guys got their stuff in. But, at the end of the day, I really thought Liger was going to pick up the win here. I knew he's going out on his back, but I thought for sure, given the collection of guys on the other side, he was going to win. But the one thing that we said last week, I was like, if anyone's going to beat him, it has to be Taguchi. I was like, I don't really see the point, but Taguchi could beat him. And then when the two of them ended up being the last 2 guys in the ring and they'd gone like 8 minutes, I was like, fuck.
Right, we got the Bumaye followed up by the Dodan, and Taguchi gets the win. I remember last week on the show, I was like, man, Liger likes going on his back. What if he wins? And you and Chris were like, no, man. Liger's going to win this. And I was like, all right, yeah, you guys are right.
Oh, yeah, we dissuaded you.
Yeah.
During your official predictions with Imp and Sir Sam, did you make Liger your pick?
Yes, I went with Team Liger. I should have
gone with
my gut. Because I did kind of clean up on the prediction contest, both of us, because they were doing LOP versus Social Suplex. We mopped them boys on the prediction contest. You can check that column out on lordsofpain.net. But I was feeling. I was like, man, Liger, that man hates going over. He's gonna have Taguchi do the 1, 2, 3, and that's exactly what happened here.
This match was so much better than it had any right to be. So enjoyable. When I say I loved it, I mean I really loved it. I can easily go 3.5 on this. I know that might be a little high for other people's books, but like for me, 3.5. This is an easy 3.5.
Yeah, it was a real fun, good match.
Where were you? Probably like 3.25?
Yeah, I think I went 3.25 on it. Yeah.
I think for me, like just the crowd, the energy, the nostalgia, the moment, the post-match, I kind of take all that into consideration. Plus the surprise factor, like Sano doing the crazy dives.
Right.
All of that really got to me. I loved it.
And like we talked about too in the past, as far as like time and star ratings, this was 9 minutes, like 3.25, 3.5, whatever you want to give it. That's really good for a 9-minute match.
I'll tell you this. There's a lot of matches here that I might quote unquote like better, but I might find myself watching this 9-minute Liger match more often because it's 9 minutes and it was good.
You're going to try and convince me to make this the match of the month?
No.
It's like, all right, the January match of the month is going to be the Liger Retirement 1 match. Like, what?
It sounds like I'm making that argument, doesn't it?
At the end of the month, we'll be like, all right, so Kata Ibushi, Naito Okada, Liger Retirement match 1. What? Oh my gosh. God. Match of the year candidates for the 2020 awards. Oh my gosh.
It was good, man. Yeah, all right, so let's get to these 8-man tag action. So
so then we turned into Road to Wrestle Kingdom. And
Road to Tokyo Dome continued.
Yeah, we had Suzuki Gun consisting of Zack Sabre Jr., Minoru Suzuki, Taichi, and El Desperado taking on Los Ingobernables de Japón, Evil, Sonata, Shingo, and Bushi. Yeah,
so this was not egregiously long, which is good. It was about 8 minutes and some change. At a certain point, once we were watching the show and before we got to the actual like singles matches, do you remember that statement I made? I was like, doesn't it kind of remind you of like the old school WrestleManias, like where the matches kind of just are happening really quick? There's like a lot of matches on the card, but they don't get a lot of time.
Right.
That's kind of what the undercard felt like here in a way. But this is definitely a Suzuki-gun style match. They attacked at the bell. They brawled, all over the outside area. They didn't let LIJ kind of get a moment to breathe. Eventually, it kind of devolved into your standard 8-man tag that you get in New Japan. It was fine, but a few talking points that I noticed. One, when they came out on the Suzuki-gun side, they came out with Zack Saber's music and not Minoru Suzuki, which was a little surprising. And then the other thing, too, was I was hoping that this match would lead to some sort of angle. And not only this match, but the next match as well. And I was like, you know what? I'm fine with them doing these 8-man tags if they build something bigger off the actual matches for the guys who are kind of getting excluded from singles like Shingo, Suzuki, and Ishii. And we did not get that. This ended up just being sort of your standard, like you mentioned, too, Road to preview match where it was all about Zack Sabre and Sonata and pretty much just a preview for the 6-man gauntlet, which was dark match the next night anyways.
Right. And the one thing I will say, though, about these undercard matches, like you mentioned, they were really short. And then I'll give them credit on that. They knew they had these multi-man matches that people are probably sour on, or they were less than 10 minutes. Get in, get out. You highlight the matches for night 2, and that was good. But you mentioned they came out to Saber's music because obviously the match was about Sabre and Sonata for that Rev Pro title on night 2. Plus, they were saving that Kaze ni Nare pop for night 2 as well.
Oh, I was going to wait to get to that. I didn't want to spoil it.
At this point...
At that point, when they came out to Zack Sabre, we were like, ooh, the rumors about Suzuki, they're not coming out to his music. And then during the post-match, Suzuki was nowhere to be seen. He was kind of a non-factor in the match. He was barely... Right. I mean, he interacted, I believe, with Evil a little bit, but we didn't even get the Shingo Suzuki kind of standoff during the match that you would have hoped for. So at that point, we're like, oh, I don't know.
Which makes me think,
are they saving it?
No, I'm wondering if, you know how we talk about, a lot of times guys in New Japan when they're doing the backstage promos and the pressers,
they kind of go in business for themselves?
Right. I'm wondering if Shingo and Suzuki
were trying to angle for a match.
Yeah, they were trying to heat something up, and so that potentially the bookers would be like, "Oh, yeah, this is a good combo. Let's do this."
Well, I remember famously Bushi when they were doing the 4-way a couple years ago for the junior title, and he was like, "Let's make it a 5-way."
Yeah, I remember that. He's like, "I think this match would be better if it was a 5-way." What?
And he mentioned it every single promo of every single night of the World Tag League for over a month, and then he never got it.
Right. He's like, I really think the matchmaker should consider making this a 5-way.
It's kind of like when you're out and you're dating someone and you really want something. They're like, "What do you want?" You're like, "Well, it's up to you. I mean, if you want to get this food, we'll get that, but if it's okay with you, I wouldn't be opposed to getting this," and then they end up getting the other food anyways. That's what it's kind of like.
Right.
I would like it if we did a 5-way, but it's up to you, Gato. I mean, whatever you want.
Oh, yeah. But, this was a good match for what it was. It came down to Zack Sabre and Bushi, and Sabre was able to avenge his loss against Bushi from the Road to Tokyo Dome show.
Yep.
And submitted Bushi.
Yeah, and that was a good call on our part, victory lap. I want to give you the credit because you're the one who kind of had the foresight. You're like, he's probably going to beat Bushi, given the fact that Bushi defeated him on the road to Tokyo Dome. And that made all the sense in the world to build up to their match the next night. So that was fine. But we're going to talk about the 6th match here, the Chaos versus Bullet Club 8-man tag. I do want to say this. Even though these matches were short and everything like that, they did nothing really to actually build the show. I don't think they helped business to tell a better story. They didn't create any angles or project any other future storylines. They were kind of just taking up space. Now, keep in mind, that sort of thing did used to happen. Not every Wrestle Kingdom is chock full of singles matches. I mean, you look at some of the earlier ones, there were multi-man matches. It's not... 5 or 6 years ago wouldn't have been that unheard of. But when you look at how stacked the roster is today, and we're going to talk about some other questionable booking decisions on night 2, like we said all along, they did not need these 2 8-man tags.
Right. You could have easily dropped both of these matches and done an Ishii singles match, a Suzuki singles match, a Shingo singles match.
I just think I understand all these guys are great workers. They need to be on the card, get their payday, and that's fine. And I agree with that. And I would have actually been happier had they done the gauntlet here. That would have been fine to me. Do the gauntlet on the main card, get those guys the payday. There's no need to do the 8-man tag. Do whatever you want to do, but like ultimately, let's maximize the time and space we have available. I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt for the 8-man tags to say, in Gato we trust, let's wait. But these were wastes of time.
Right, especially this next matchup here with the Chaos team of Yoshihashi, Toru Yano, Tomohiro Ishii, and Hiroki Goto against the Bullet Club team of Chase Owens, Yujiro Takahashi, Bad Luck Fale, and Kenta.
Yes. Now, the one thing, again, and we'll point it out, even though they're a waste of time, even though they're questionable booking decisions, these weren't bad matches, so it wasn't like they really destroyed the card or hurt it. It was just kind of like you didn't get as much bang for your buck as you would be hoping for on a Wrestle Kingdom.
Right.
But I will say this. I did not enjoy the Chaos Bullet Club 8-man tag as much as the Suzuki-Gun LIJ one.
Right, yeah, we talk about it all the time on this show. The LIJ multi-man matches are usually pretty good.
Actually, now I'm thinking about it, I might take that back. I really like Toru Yano's stuff in this match.
Oh, yes, he was hilarious. Toru Yano was hilarious.
I think he was the star of the match in a way.
He kind of was.
Like, he was like the highlighted guy. Like, him and his interactions with Bad Luck Fale were hilarious in this match. But those guys are always comedy gold when they're around each other.
Right. And then obviously a lot of focus too was on Goto and Kenta, and they had a nice little sequence towards the end, but then it came down to Goto and Yujiro, and Goto did the Ushigoroshi, then the GTR on Yujiro to get the win for Chaos.
I liked Ishii getting a chance to hoist Bad Luck Fale up in the air and bring him down for a giant suplex.
Yeah, that was an awesome spot.
That was a great spot. Fine match. It wasn't anything special, but post match did Goto and Kenta even get into it? I can't even really remember.
I don't. They might have like jaw-jacked at each other, but I don't really remember them brawling or anything.
I'll just say this: if I was a casual viewer, and I saw these two matches and they were preview matches, neither one of them would have really done much for me as a casual viewer to anticipate the matches on the second night.
Yeah.
They were like a little, almost too insidery. Like, if you really want to build those matches, you got to do a better job highlighting them and telling the story. Or better yet, save this for the actual Road 2 show and put some real Wrestle Kingdom caliber matches on the card.
Right.
But then after that, we got to the IWGP Tag Team Championship match. The World Tag League 2019 winners, Juice Robinson, David Finlay, taking on the reigning IWGP Tag Team Champions, the Guerrillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, with Jado for the titles. Where do we want to start? Do we want to talk about the match, or do we want to talk about Juice?
We need to talk about Juice first, man. Dude. So we already mentioned the World Tag League Tour. Like, Juice is looking a little thick. A little doughy, not the normal Juice Robinson that we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
He's like, you know what? Whatever. Let it slide. Then this man came out here with the gimmick beard.
Bro, it wasn't a gimmick beard. It was a handlebar mustache, but like rounded, like a rounded handlebar mustache. Like I'm doing it with my hands. You guys can't see, but
yeah, I think there's a name for it. That's why I call it a gimmick, because I don't know.
Like it wasn't quite a Fu Manchu,
yeah,
but it's close to one. Just think like a Freddie Mercury beard, but rounder and longer, like down, almost like a goatee, but with just the bottom part like gone.
Yeah, and
then he still has his terrible hair where it's shaved around the sides, but like mid length on top, but it's not braided. It's not styled in any way. It's just kind of like a medium fro. And then he
had this cop hat on,
and aviators,
and just this t-shirt, this normal their new t-shirt.
Yeah, and then he's got his gear that matches with Dave Finlay's, but it just looks really, really, really. His whole look, his whole attire, his whole gear, his whole vibe, his whole cosmetic approach just screamed to me 90s jobber.
Dude, I said it on Twitter. He looks like a goof.
He looks like a goof.
He looks like a complete goof. And I love Juice. We've talked to Juice in person in New Orleans. You know,
we've interviewed Juice in person.
I think he's a great wrestler.
He is. Bro, we've lived and died with Juice Robinson's, rise from young lion to mid-card to upper mid-card to, believable champion to where he is now. I don't know what's going on. What do you think's going on?
Dude, I don't know, man. I don't know.
Well, here's what I do know. The guy looked really motivated for his match with Mox. Loses the title. Goes in the G1. Has a very underrated G1. Great matches with a lot of great guys. The whole story is building to him and him and Mox on the final night. He beats Mox on the final night. Big career win. That leads to the match that they're supposed to have at King of Pro Wrestling.
Right.
Tsunami hits. That doesn't end up happening. He ends up losing in a pretty one-sided match to Lance Archer. And from there, it sort of feels like a slow free fall. Maybe we didn't notice it all at once, but it was like little by little, like his match, I can't think of any notable matches he had after the Lance Archer match. I know he wasn't really having singles matches. His tag matches were kind of uninspired. And then his physique started to he didn't look as cut, he didn't look as ripped, and then his gear and his look, and he started growing his hair out. And by the time the World Tag League came around, I was like, Juice looks kind of out of shape,
Right.
And they had a fine World Tag League. They did. They were probably the tag team of the tournament, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Yeah. But a lot of it was due to Dave Finlay.
Dude, yeah, Dave Finlay, he looked like the star of the two.
Yep. Dave Finlay looks more like the star. And, Juice has a lot going for him. He's taller. He's bigger. He's definitely got a lot more traction with the crowd in New Japan, a more storied past. He is the star of the two guys. Make no mistake about it. But it's not like us saying he didn't look like his normal self. That's not just us saying it. This is something he was saying on commentary or in backstage promos pretty regularly all throughout World Tag League.
Right, yeah. They were talking, the first night he was like, clearly I've gained the weight, something like that he said in the backstage promos. So,
and we're not here to body shame anybody.
Right, and I'm not end of the day, Juice Robinson is in way better shape than I am. I
don't know, man. You're pretty jacked.
I'd be fine, rocking a Juice body, but just compared to what we've seen in the past to what we see now.
It's not even the body thing, even though that's part of it. It's the fact that, in the past, to me, Juice has screamed star. There's been so many times where I'm like, Juice is a freaking star. And so much so was he a star that he'd get away with his terrible outfits. Let's not mince words. Juice Robinson has terrible ring attire 90% of the time. Even if I kind of like the things he wears, they're not cool. The Juice Taker thing that he wore.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
The George Washington outfit he wore all throughout the G1 the year before. Juice had some terrible, terrible attires. But he's always come off as such a star that it really didn't matter.
It just kind of fit him. You're like, all right, this is just Juice.
But now Juice came out, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? His hair looks terrible. His gear looks terrible. His physique looks terrible. He doesn't look happy. This is not... He doesn't look like a star. He looks like a 90s jobber in WWF. He looks like the kind of guy that you come back from commercial and he's already in the ring and he never had an
entrance,
and they're like, Juice Robinson, and he gets the graphic and he puts his arm up. That's what he looks like right now.
Yeah.
He looks like he should have been in the Rosebuds.
Rose, yeah.
One of the Adam Rose guys who, we're like, I don't know who that guy is, but he's pretty tall. In 6 months, when he actually comes onto NXT, he's going to be good. Except Juice was on NXT 7 years ago, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on. But part of me thinks that what ends up happening on night 2, maybe he was privy to it. And maybe the booking that has been given to him over the last last quarter of this year might have something to do with what we're seeing right now. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's dive into the match here. So,
match was fine.
We had Juice and Finley. They met G.O.D. in the rampway during G.O.D.'s entrance, and they brawled there and kind of started the match there.
Never mind, G.O.D. didn't have the cool helmets on, the face paint.
Dude, as soon as I saw about G.O.D.'s losing.
As soon as they came out in their mid-ass gear, we were like, G.O.D. about to drop these straps.
No special gear, no Iron Man mask, no face paint.
They didn't have their jackets, the cool jackets they were wearing last year. They're like, nah. They came out in their regular attire. We're like, oh, they're about to
Not
lose.
even matching. Oh, man.
We're like, oh, they're about to drop these belts, these boys.
All right. But, so started the brawl on the rampway. Juice took a back body drop on the ramp, so he sold his back majority of the match.
Yeah. Everyone worked really good, really hard here. The match was good. It wasn't great. The crowd didn't seem to really care, to be honest. But from a wrestling standpoint, it was fine. They got heat. I think Juice was kind of the face in peril for most of the match.
Yeah, they got the heat on Juice.
Kind of leading to Dave Finley kind of being the hot tag guy. Very Southern style type of match. I mean, not a great Southern style, but just your standard, or even your quote-unquote WWF style tag. It was kind of like that. This was actually the match where I was like, does this kind of remind you of WrestleMania, where the old 90s WrestleManias? Because these matches are kind of you're excited for them, but they're not delivering, but they're fast, so it doesn't matter. You're getting good results. That's kind of what this was like. But the story of this match is really about Dave Finley.
Right, like we mentioned, Dave Finley looked like the star out of the two, and we mentioned it on last week's show and our show on Cheersot Radio with Outsider's Edge. This match was it's really about Dave Finley, and the moment here was for Dave Finley, and with a big comeback from injury, is in great shape, and this moment was about, because Juice has had his Wrestle Kingdom moments. Juice has had matches at the Dome. This was Finley's first match on the main card, right?
Ever.
Yeah, ever. So this was a big deal for David Finley.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was good. It wasn't great. It was good, but they were given 13 minutes. We've seen Finn Juice and G.O.D. This is the one thing I really don't like about the current iteration of how World Tag League is set up, is that we're seeing in the Dome a match that we've seen maybe multiple times during World Tag League.
Right.
At this point, sometimes just once, but last year we saw it twice. And so prior to it happening, so it's getting to a point where it's even though we cover this, I'm I don't even know if I want to watch World Tag League next year if they're going to keep doing it this way. I would much rather get a fresh match, just like we always get at the end of the G1 in most cases. So, that makes more business sense to me, and that would have been better here. But it was fine. I was happy Finn Juice won. I was happy for the moment. And I think Juice and Dave Finley, for everything that... Okay, let me just say this. For every criticism that we mentioned about Juice, it's mainly because we see Juice as a top singles star.
We hold him in very high regard.
Right, and so it's very unusual to see him where he's at now. But as far as a tag team, him and Dave Finley are awesome. Finn Juice is a great tag team. I think they add a lot to the division. And I am excited to see what happens in the new year with them, picking up the straps from G.O.D. here. And I wouldn't be opposed to them wrestling again down the line. But, this was a pretty good moment. And I'm glad for, Juice and Dave Finley.
Yeah, there was also, minimal Bull Club shenanigans in this match. Jado was out there, but they took care of him throughout the match, and he got a left hand of God towards the end there.
Yeah.
And then Finley comes and saves Juice from eating ape shit from Loa, and Finley hits the sliced bread. 1, 2, 3. We have new champions.
They did get me a little bit on their. They did a magic killer, and I bit on it for a moment. I don't know if you remember. I was like, is that it? And then you're like, you Meltzer explained to me. They're like, well, actually,
Josh,
their finisher is the super power bomb, and I was like, I know. They could beat a bitch with a magic killer. You don't know.
Yeah, there could be some young lions with that.
Chill. It's a good move.
Oh, man.
And then we got to, after that, the 8th match of the card, where this is basically where Rich said the real show starts.
This is where business picked up.
Yes.
The Texas Death Match for the IWGP United States Championship. The champion, the Murder Hawk Monster, Lance Archer, defending against the Death Rider, Jon Moxley.
You know, this match didn't, for a while, it almost seemed far-fetched that we'd be getting a match between Mox and Archer. Like, when people would ask us, what do you see Moxley doing at the Dome? We're like, I don't know, you know? I mean, Archer has the belt, but they never wrestled before. Archer's kind of calling him out, but, you know, what's the story? What's the build? There's nothing there. But they did a good job in the last month with Moxley showing up in Japan, attacking Archer and Suzuki at the end of the World Tag League, and then the really, really awesome promo that Archer did, which I don't think we talked about that on the show last week.
No,
I don't
think it dropped after we recorded, yeah. Yeah, that promo was awesome, like around the fire, cutting the promo about Moxley.
Yeah, and that was a really, really great promotional video. I wish more guys would kind of take it upon themselves to do creative and inventive things like that, especially if you're given the autonomy to do so. And Archer definitely like seized the moment. Here's the funny thing. I was with Megan, or saying names on that. I was with my girlfriend.
Why are you afraid to say a name there?
Because I'm private. I don't like, because I don't want anyone to Google me and then like be in my business, know stuff about me. There's psychos out there, you know. But I was with my girlfriend and I played that video and then she was listening, and she's a wrestling fan. She was listening to it and she's like, I want to see this match now. And I was like, Lance Archer talking people into the Dome.
The big draw. He drew that 40,000.
Yeah, he drew the 40,000. But they did a good job like building to this match to where finally after those videos and you know the attack and the angle, I was like, man, I really want to see this. Like I cannot wait. So we get there in the Dome and it was a moment. I wanted Moxley with the freaking tights.
Yes, he's dropped the tights look now. I like the G1, the tights, the jacket, the knee pads, the wrestling shoes. I love that look, and now he's
Shooter Mox.
Yeah, now he's just gone to the Dean Ambrose style of just just long jean pants or camel pants.
The funny thing was he was wearing the like when he came out in the pants. James Boyd, we were watching it with James. James is like, he's not wearing the tights, but he's got better pants on. Everything about Moxley's better in Japan.
Yeah.
But this match was crazy, man. This was violent.
Yeah, dude. And, honestly, this match could have gone one or two ways. Like, it could have gone the way it did and great, or it could have been this sloppy plunder weapon brawl where they're just throwing each other through stuff. But I really like this was a great match. It was brutal. You had Archer coming out there with trash cans lids that says Mox dies.
I loved that. He came out with the two trash cans and it had Mox dies, Mox on the one and then dies on the other one. And then I think it was Rocky Romero who was like, I don't think I've ever seen an American style trash can lid in Japan. He's like, I'm pretty sure this man brought this from Texas. Right.
Man flew over with the gimmicks.
That's pretty funny.
And you know what else I loved about this match? So, they had the whole KO thing, essentially last man standing was part of the rules. And unlike, the WWE style where they're counting.
As soon as they fall?
Yeah, they take a shoulder bump. 1, 2. It's like, obviously that shoulder tackle at the beginning of the match is not going to get you the 10 count. They executed the 10 count on bigger spots, on bigger moves, where it was more realistic that they would actually be down for some point of time.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen some people kind of criticize certain aspects. Like, there was some confusion about the way the count worked in the very beginning of the match. I noticed that, but, they've only ever done a match like this one other time in New Japan, and so I'm not gonna nitpick it that way.
Right.
I'm probably in the minority here. Although I think there are a lot of people who probably agree with me. I like this a lot better than Moxley and Omega, personally. It just, to me, it didn't feel like you mentioned this like meandering plunder spot fest where it was like we're going from spot to spot to spot that's like all laid out.
Right, and it's like realistic weapons. Like obviously there are extra chairs on the ringside. There's extra tables for the announcement. Like Moxley brought a kendo stick. Archer brought trash cans. Like, there wasn't like a random glass table.
Everything really flowed well. Like, these guys felt like they were having an actual brawl. Even for instance, there was the time where Archer tried to do the rope walk, and some people think it was planned, but I'm pretty sure it was a botch where he slipped.
Yeah.
And then Mox covered it.
By hitting with the kendo stick, yeah.
Some people don't like stuff like that. They're like, oh, I don't like when I notice that there's a botch. And I'm like, I'm fine with things not going perfectly in wrestling as long as it doesn't detract from the overall match or the quality of the match or the story. And in that case, I thought Mox did a really, really good job kind of like covering and
it was so fast in between the time Archer slipped and Mox was hitting with the kendo stick.
Yeah, and that was fine. And there was just so many segments and sequences that just felt very like static, chaotic. They didn't seem like it wasn't like we were sitting around waiting for one guy. Like, okay, for example, you watch a WWE style match of this and like, you're like, there's no weapons that have been introduced yet. And then the guy's like searching underneath the ring.
Yeah.
And then they're like, what's he doing? What's he looking for in there? And then all of a sudden he like slowly pulls out the kendo stick and everyone's like, oh. And I'm like, no, it wasn't like that. They were like, run it, crack, crack, crack. And I was like, oh my God, these guys are trying to kill each other.
Mox was getting welted up from those kendo shots.
Bro, Archer was fucking him up. And they were hitting each other hard too. Like they were working really, really, really stiff. Like that's the one thing we were watching. We're like, dude, they're hitting each other. Like not with weapons, but with their fists and forearms. We're like, they're working stiff.
Yeah, then there was a great spot where Archer choke slams a young lion onto Moxley on the outside. That
was great. I loved that. Archer just going around punching young lions in the middle of the match. The whole match was like something I loved.
Yeah. Then he hit the taker dive on Mox and the young lions.
Yes, which apparently CM Punk doesn't like that spot, but fuck you. The one thing that some people might not have liked, but I kind of liked, was that he brought out a plastic bag so that he could put the claw on on Moxley and
suffocate
him with the iron claw. And we'd had some questions last week, and even going further back, we're like, well, in this match, how is it going to work with the claw? And I was like, I liked the way they did it. Like they kind of made it even more like quote unquote vicious because he's trying to kill him.
Right. Literally. Literally. Everybody dies as a shoot.
Well, everyone dies is a shoot. But yeah, that was great. And then they didn't overdo the moments where people are like getting up at the last moment. Like there was one time, I think it was when Mox went through all the chairs with the blackout.
Oh yes, that spot was awesome.
And they did the 10 count, and at 8 he was almost up, but he fell back down, and I was like, oh my God. And then he got right, like at the end of 9, he got up and he was about to lose, and I was like, oh, this is good. It was good, bro. It was good.
Yeah, and then it all led to the big finish where they set 2 tables up outside, and Mox does a Death Rider off the apron through the tables, like break through both tables, and
Archer's arm got cut up.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
And got to the 9 count, and Moxley was able to get up at the last second. Archer started stirring a little bit, but couldn't quite get up, and Moxley got to his feet, and
Rocky 2 finish. Shout out to Rich Latta. Have you seen all the Rocky movies?
I have not.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, there's one of us who hasn't. I know me, James, and Rich have seen all of them. Like, we always talk about doing a Rocky podcast, but we've never done it. I think Caleb wants to be on it. But I love this match. That spot where they went through both tables, I think just the reputation of the Japanese tables that they don't break, and then they broke both of them.
Yes, both of them. Honestly, I was like, man, probably one's going to break. Yeah. No, they broke.
They went through both of them.
Both those things.
Bro, he did a freaking Death Rider to a huge ass dude in Archer. I was like, he's not hitting Archer with the Death Rider. He put him through a table. Everyone at our party, there's like 5 of us. We all were standing with our like mouths over our hands. Like,
yeah, dude, we loved that spot. And yeah, dude, this was a great match.
Bro, 14 minutes, 26 seconds. Did it feel like it was that short?
Dude, it I don't know.
It felt long and short at the same time.
Right.
Like it felt epic, so it felt long, but it happened so quick. It was like in the blink of an eye, and you're like, it's over. Damn. I loved it. Yeah. I thought it was great. I went 4.5 on this.
Wow. I was 4.25. But
I was 4.25, but then I thought, fuck it, 4.5.
it's in the dome. throw a little quarter on it. Just give it a little taste. But
I'll tell you this much: I've heard a lot of people do other podcasts, and they might have more professional takes than us. They might have worse takes than us, but no one else is enjoying talking about the Tokyo Dome match as much as we are.
Having a good old time here in the dojo. But yeah, Archer continues to deliver. Moxley delivers once again. I love Jon Moxley in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Post match, Mox gets some mic and cuts a promo. He says he came to Tokyo to leave with nothing or everything, and he will settle things with Juice once and for all tomorrow night. So with this win here, Jon Moxley does advance on to night 2 of Tokyo Dome to face Juice Robinson for the IWGP United States Championship, just like we predicted. So then we move on to the next matchup here for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. The aerial assassin Will Ospreay defends against the ticking time bomb Hiromu Takahashi.
All right, so the real question here needs to be asked, and I think it's what everyone wants to wonder or wants to know. Who had the better entrance attire?
I don't know, dude. I think Ospreay.
Nope. Hiromu Takahashi's crazy
peacock
flamboyant feather outfit was like straight fire.
Yeah, that was that. I don't know. It was Hiromu style, definitely, but I don't know. I was digging Ospreay with that white tiger on his shoulder and his gear looked raw.
Bro, this match, I don't have words. This match was incredible.
Freaking phenomenal. Magnificent.
Every single aspect of this match was incredible. The entrances were awesome. The before the match, like the announcements and everything. And
the VTR.
The VTR was awesome. Then the match and then everything about this package was what you want out of professional wrestling. This was just so great. Like, I don't know. You talk about it, bro, because I'm like almost at a loss for words.
Yeah. So this match, like, dude, obviously as we're going, it was phenomenal. Like we kind of mentioned last week, Ospreay was kind of coming into this match very confident, very cocky. He was definitely the black hat in this match. He was the aggressor. Didn't really care if he got boos. He was kind of, being the more aggressive one out of the two here, kind of working that aggressive heel role. Kind of similar to the Amazing Red match where he was kind of working a heel role there as well. Obviously, he was working over Hiromu's neck for a majority of the match. Obviously, Hiromu coming back from a broken neck. So he worked the neck. Hiromu also kind of worked the neck as well because Ospreay has his history of neck injuries as well.
We noticed that throughout the match. I would at one point when he started targeting the neck, I was like, that's not a bad way to go. If you think about Ospreay, he's not one who is without his own share of neck issues. You think about the a couple years ago at Sakura Genesis, the match with Marty Scurll where he almost killed himself with that botched Spanish Fly in the apron.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had issues since then. We see him taped up. We see him with cut marks on his back all the time. So, I mean, that's not... And then, spoiler alert, Hiromu debuted a new finish. And once you start, noticing how he was attacking Will Ospreay's neck throughout the match, it kind of makes sense why. Why? Psychology.
Yes.
He's out here reading the book that Kenny had.
Yeah, Kenny left the book out.
Kenny left the book for him. He's cheating.
Then there was the awesome sequence that's been gifted 1,000 times.
Bro, I want to just every single podcast I listen to has called it the sequence, but no one has called it the quote unquote sequence. That's what it was, bro. It's this moment in time. We need to just quote it as that, the sequence. Whenever we allude to what happened in this match, it was this incredible thing. It was called the sequence.
Right, and the sequence has been gift over and over again. It's Ospreay goes for the space flying tiger drop.
I actually think it was like a Sasuke special.
Right. Aren't those the same thing?
Are they the same? I don't know.
I thought they were.
They're similar. Like, I think the difference is like the way that they
the cartwheel into it.
Well, I don't know if it's that. I think the way they go over the top rope is slightly different. Like one's a backflip and one is like a
twisting kind of
thing. And they're like a little different, but they're very similar.
Okay, so he goes for the Sasuke special. Hiromu moves out of the way. He lands on his feet. Then Hiromu throws him back in. He bounces back.
No. He does a go around.
Right.
And he does a German suplex backwards onto the ramp, and Will Ospreay lands on his feet. Will Ospreay runs at him. He throws Will Ospreay back towards the ring.
Right.
And Will Ospreay jumps through the ropes.
He dived through the ropes, goes back, hits the ropes, and then lands the Sasuke special.
With another Sasuke special and hits it the second time. And it's like, what is going on?
Yeah, dude, that was wild.
I don't know, it's not substantiated, but I heard that Will Ospreay might have broke his heel on that move.
I did hear that as well, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He's really stepping into Kenny's shoes, working awesome matches with ankle injuries.
Yeah.
And then Hiromu's nose got busted open by the Kawada kicks.
Yeah, and the crazy thing, okay, Hiromu came out, last month when he made his return, and he said, I'm going to be the same, I'm going to be crazy, yada, yada. And we saw him work really fast and do a lot of the same stuff he's always done, in not only during the road to Tokyo Dome, but also in this match. But I do want to say this. He was generally safe.
Right. There was no real spots where he landed it on his head. He didn't really do any crazy dives where he missed, kind of thing.
I mean, of course, wrestling's not safe, quote.
Right?
You're always putting your body at risk, and you're always taking chances. And they definitely did some very nuanced, high octane, fast paced, high risk type of wrestling for sure. But he wasn't doing the stuff he wasn't doing the extra stuff that you were cringing about before he got injured, like that one drop that he does off the top rope.
The senton
to the outside. He didn't do that at all.
Right, he did it from the apron, right?
He did a version of it. Yeah.
Right. It wasn't quite the same, yeah.
And he wasn't taking a lot of neck bumps and things like that. Which
right.
I think these are good things. I'm not complaining whatsoever. What I'm saying, the reason I'm saying this is because this might be the best match of his career, or one of them. It's definitely in the top 5 for sure. And he didn't have to do all that stuff, and he was just as dynamic, just as charismatic, just as compelling. This match blew me away. Him and Will Ospreay they've had at least 2 or 3 major matches that we've watched in the past where we've reviewed them, and I've been really good. 4 3/4, 4.5, Bro, this match beats all of those matches. Not just because of where it was set, not just because of the moment and the significance of Takahashi's return and Ospreay's dominance being ended, but just because it was better.
Yeah.
It was literally just better than all those other matches, period. 5 stars.
Yes, I went the full 5 on this as well. Just so many great moves, destroyers. Ospreay hits a Made in Japan, which is Shingo's secondary finisher, throwing some shade there.
I'm gonna beat you with your boy's finish.
Yeah, just so much great stuff. They did protect Will Ospreay's Stormbreaker. He did not hit the Stormbreaker.
Bro, Stormbreaker, if he hits Stormbreaker, you lose.
It's done.
It's a done deal.
Yeah,
it's like the Outsider's Edge.
Yeah, he reversed the Stormbreaker into a code red for a great near fall. Then the Time Bomb won and got another great near fall.
I didn't think he didn't hit the Time Bomb, right?
He hit Time Bomb 1.
I thought it was the Dynamite Plunge.
He did hit Dynamite Plunge, and then he followed that up with the Time Bomb.
Oh, and Will kicked out.
Okay,
yeah.
And then he hit what he's calling the Time Bomb 2, which is like an Emerald Flosion type maneuver.
It's something crazier than that. It's similar. You're correct.
Right. I don't know. That's the only way I can know how to really.
Well, he was teasing on social media
right.
that he had something special planned for the Dome. I just thought it was a new cat.
He didn't come out with Daryl.
No, he didn't. But
And Osprey didn't bring Percy.
Every time he's ever like been like, I've got something special announced, my happy day, the clock is counting down. It's always some fucking cat.
Or a book.
It's always a book or a cat. So like, I'm like, a lot of people are like, I think he's going to debut a new move at the Dome. And all those people are right. But because I've been conditioned to like expect what I've been conditioned to expect from him, I'm like, it's going to be some pink fucking cat. Some new cat from him. But it wasn't. It was this devastating new finisher. And I've heard some people criticize this debut a little bit.
Really? Why?
I think that there's some purists out there who kind of like, when you look at the history of All Japan, you look at like the 4 pillars and how each of them kind of had to develop super finishers. They did it through a long, nuanced storytelling method where like they were like going through these long, multi-year match like storylines with one another where like, they had to develop a new finish because the old finish couldn't best the other guy. And so it took a long time to build to the moment when they finally debuted their new finisher. And some people didn't like the idea that he just busted it out on this, on this day against Osprey. But to everyone who thinks that, I'm not going to be disrespectful and say like, fuck you or anything like that. But I think you guys are being a little like old fashioned. I think this was fine. In fact, I think it fit the story.
Right. If you want to argue there, like, Hiromu's been gone for a year. He saw the year that Osprey had. He saw that Shingo that Shingo couldn't beat him.
Shingo hit him with the Made in Japan and the Last of the Dragon and couldn't put this dude away.
So clearly, like, if Shingo couldn't put him away with that stuff, like, my Time Bomb 1 is not going to work. I need something new.
Yeah, I like the idea that while he was away, he was working on something special. Now, I will say this. That move is devastating, and not just in a kayfabe sense. It is literally a physically demanding match. I don't want Hiromu. I could see Hiromu, like, hypothetically, it's a popular move. Hiromu's crazy. They could create, like, a new finisher out of it and have that be his new finisher. But I don't want to see him dropping every single dude that he beats for the next year or two on their Dome like that. That's a bad move to take. Yeah. I think it should be relegated to being like
the super finisher.
The super finisher, similar to like a super, off the top rope version of certain guys' finishers, right. Or like what's the move I'm always like, the burning hammer, like a burning hammer type move, or like a Gonzo bomb, something like that. Like you only break it out for super matches. I think that's what this needs to be, and if it is, I'm happy that the place he did it was the Dome against Will Ospreay for the junior title in his return match. Like, it's poetic. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah.
And that move is so devastating looking that when he landed it, everyone in the Dome knew immediately everyone knew it was over.
Yeah. So it was done.
He's not fucking getting up.
Got the win. New champion in the post-match presser. It was hilarious, and that's where he revealed the name. He was like, first he walked in there, he was like, clap for me. And then, like, he's like, ask me questions or I will leave. And the reporter was like, what was the name of that new move? He pauses. Time Bomb 2. So, yeah, that was
pretty
awesome.
Funny.
So, yeah, so then we move on.
And just so everyone knows, we can't overstate, this is a match of the year contender already.
Right. It's on match of the year, junior match of the year, locked in.
Fuck. So we go to the semi-main event. We have the IWGP Intercontinental Champion, the Switchblade Jay White, accompanied by Gato, defending the title against Tetsuya Naito. I don't know why Tetsuya Naito's in this match. He doesn't bring anything to the table, but he's here. He made it in. I remember why. He beat Taichi.
Right, at Power Struggle.
He beat Taichi. That's his accolade.
That's a big, you beat Taichi. That propels you.
Things happen for you in this sport. But this is a singles match for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship, the first leg of the Double Gold Dash.
Yeah. Boy. Here's the thing.
Also, I just want you guys to know I'm just being funny. I'm sure there's some Naito fanboys that are pissed about what I just said. And they're like,
Well,
does he not fucking get it?
well, the funny thing, so we watched night one over at Zach Porter, front of the show. You've heard Zach on this podcast before in a previous episode. So we were over at Zach Porter's house. He had the Los Ingobernables flag up in the living room.
Yes.
Naito shirt on, you know.
He had one of the fucking cats somewhere in the room.
Yeah, he had one of the cats up too. And what did I do?
You wore the Switchblade shirt?
I showed up in a Jay White Switchblade shirt in this man's house.
I was embarrassed for you. I was like, this man's losing. Why the fuck you wearing this shirt?
Because I just wanted to troll. But
it's not really like you. You're usually the baby face.
I know, but I was like, here's the thing. I like Jay White.
You should have you have an LIJ shirt.
I do.
You should have worn that shit.
Nah. I had a troll. Get a little bit of heat. But yeah, here's the thing. So this match, honestly, going into this match, I did not have high expectations for this match.
Me either.
Based off what we saw in the G1, based off what we saw, what was that, King of Pro Wrestling? Mm-hmm. Like, these guys, there are just certain guys that don't have great chemistry, and they don't have good matches. You can look through any promotion, any rivalry, any match, you'll find two guys, when you put them in there together, they could be two great guys and have great matches with other people. When you put them together, they just don't have great matches together. And that's Jay White and Naito.
Right. And, I'll say this. I don't think they have great matches together. They have good matches together. I don't think anyone objectively could say that any of the Naito Jay White matches are not good.
Right.
They're good. But you could, as a fan, say, I don't enjoy their matches because there have been a lot of negative elements to the types of matches that they've had. And I don't know if it's just because of its quote-unquote storytelling or if it's smoke and mirrors to hide the fact that they don't have good chemistry together, because that seems to be a big part of it for me.
Right. And also, too, I think just match length also, especially here. This match went 33 minutes and 45 seconds.
Yes. So I'll say this. I didn't have high expectations going into this either. But I did think, I was like, it's the Dome. They've had two kind of lackluster matches in the past. They need to get Jay White over. Or I'm sorry, Naito over. I did expect Naito to win, obviously, and we were correct in that because that's what made the most sense, and that's the chalk line, booking decision. That's where they ended up going, which is the perfect thing to do. But that also causes you to kind of have some concerns about, they've got the big four in this tournament. They got to kind of protect certain guys. They don't want to bury anyone, make them look too weak. So with Jay White's character and his character work, you might see some shenanigans, which we definitely did. So I was like, we'll probably see like a 4-star affair.
Yeah.
And I think that's about, I wouldn't go that high.
Dude,
I'm like 3 and...
I think I'm like 3.5.
I could go 3.5. I would probably say 3 3/4 just to kind of be fair, but maybe 3.5. I don't know. I wouldn't split hairs on it one way or the other. The match was fine. It was just really slow. Jay White did a lot of his stuff.
Right.
Naito did a lot of his stuff.
I understand them starting slow. You just had that match of the year, 5-star match right in front of you.
Oh, and I want to talk to you about that when we get done with this. I had questions about the match order from the get-go.
Right, like everybody knew that Ospreay and Hiromu was going to be a candidate for match of the night and match of the weekend.
Yeah,
like I was mentioning, Ospreay was only on the Dome one night. He's going to go out there. He's going to make sure he has a 5-star match, and that's what he did. And these guys had to follow that match, so they definitely had to change the pace and allow the crowd to settle down and then pick back up. But the problem is they went too slow. They dragged it out too long.
I think the problem isn't that. It's that they, like we mentioned, I literally think these are two fantastic wrestlers who don't have good chemistry with one another and who didn't have the capacity together to bring it up. Mm-hmm. If you look at Wrestle Kingdom from a couple of years ago when it was Tanahashi and Naito for the IC title and they had to follow, I don't remember what it, oh, no, I'm sorry. Naito and Tanahashi killed it, and then after that, it was Okada and Omega. And Okada Omega had to kind of like follow Naito and Tanahashi. I just don't think Naito and Jay White have the capacity to work the same kind of style match. Now, I could be wrong. And there's some people who are probably saying you're wrong. But guess what? 3 strikes and you're out. This is the 3rd time that they have kind of shit the bed. And, it's one of those things where it's like, it sounds funny because we're talking about matches that are good, that are really good.
Right.
And some people probably enjoy, especially fans of Naito or fans of Jay White, or who are, if there's a crossover, who are fans of both. But for the general fan who's accustomed to a certain level of performance, especially on Tokyo Dome shows, this didn't really cut it. And I think a lot of what brought it down for me was the Jay White shenanigans, the character work. It was almost like we saw Jay White reverting to the 2018 version of himself from the G1 Climax, the one that we were kind of like, I don't know. This guy's going to need to show us something.
Right.
This was not a great match.
Right. We've come on the show and we have defended Jay White in the past. We both think Jay White's a great wrestler.
Not even just defended him. We've advocated for him because he's had great matches.
Right. And I think he's a great professional wrestler, and I think he's very great at what he does. But there is a point where the shenanigans can add to the match, and there's a point where shenanigans can take away from the match. And I think this is one of the matches where the shenanigans took away from the match. There wasn't great chemistry. It went too long. Honestly, if you cut this match in half, I think it would have the potential to be better than what it was.
Do you think that it's possible that a lot of this has to do with Gato's booking?
What do you mean?
Like Gato has concerns about Naito looking too strong or not enough like a babyface, or maybe Jay White not looking maybe that there's some internal sort of politics in play, like he's trying to protect both guys. So maybe it was not that they weren't compatible, but just the way that it was laid out for them, sort of thing. Maybe. Like an agent almost.
Yeah, but I don't know. The previous 2 matches,
correct.
Yeah. So I don't know.
But here's the thing too. Those previous 2 matches clearly were building to this match.
Right.
Maybe it's all been like this, the story we're telling. You guys go out there and tell the story. Here's your job. You know what I mean?
Right.
That is a real possibility. It totally is. And maybe the idea is, let's get heat on Jay White. Let's get sympathy on Naito. That's your job.
Right.
Your job's not to go out there and entertain them. Your job is to propel the storyline.
Your job is not to have a 5-star match. Your job is to get heat on Naito and get sympathy on him, and then eventually get him over.
My only thing is, it got a little long in the tooth. It's been 3 matches. A lot of what is great about New Japan is the entertainment of the in-ring style. And this is classic old school booking to a certain degree, but it's also now I'm kind of getting sour on Jay White because now he's kind of doing a lot of the stuff he did 2 years ago that I didn't really love.
Right, because they've kind of gone away. They started doing the cheating thing, and then they kind of started implementing, Jay's a really great counter wrestler. Mm-hmm. Yes, he's going to cheat, but ultimately it's his countering is what allows him to win and be better than his opponents. And we kind of saw that, pretty much majority of last year. A lot of his matches, he had a lot of those great counter finishers. And then here, they've kind of dropped, like you mentioned, they kind of dropped that. They've kind of gone back to the, he has to, low blow, ref bump, Gato, chair, all these things instead of just letting him cheat a little bit, but then have his counter wrestling be the thing that kind of gets him over.
Yeah, and so Jay White was kind of just getting heat on him with a lot of the shenanigans. It was just a little too much for my taste. Ultimately, though, they got to where they needed to go. Naito won. We did go into this, and I'd said many times on the show, of all the matches for all the nights, this is going to be the lowest performing during the Double Gold Dash, based historically off what we've seen, and that was true. So neither of us were really disappointed. We're kind of just expressing our disappointment now on the air, But leaving the show, we were kind of both just like resigned to the fact that this is just how it is with Naito and Jay White.
Right. Yeah. Like, honestly, I went in. I was like, I'm not like, dude. If they over deliver, awesome. But
Awesome.
I'm not expecting anything blow away. It's gonna be. It is what it is. Like,
I'll say this though, this show was really good. Like really, like honestly, from top to bottom. If you think about how good the show was, like you've got the Liger finale, which was great. The 2 8-man tags, yes, they didn't need to be there, but they were fine for what they were. They were very solid. And then you had like a title change in the tag team match. You had the fantastic Texas Death Match, and then a Match of the Year candidate in Hiromu and Will Ospreay. And we knew Okada and Naito was going to be Okada and Ibushi is going to be blow away. But when Naito and Jay White ended, we were sitting there with Rich, and he's like, my God. He's like, this man, Jay White, out here ruining the dome. He's like, we need Okada and Ibushi to save this show. And I was like, bro, save the show. It's one of the best shows of the entire year. I was like, and even this match, which I didn't love, it's not my cup of tea, it's still like, it. And in the semi-main event, it is egregious. It shouldn't be 3.5, 3 3/4. Given the level of guys that were here, should have been better. Mm-hmm. But I was like, it's still one of the best shows of the entire year. Like, and he was like, the show is dead. Jay White, bag him up. It's over. But I will tell you, I'm starting to get to that point with Jay White myself a little bit. I'm just getting a little like, I don't know, man. But you know what? Ultimately, we got to where we need to go. Naito overcame Jay White. Why don't you take us through the end of this match real quick? Because we've been talking about it a lot.
Yeah, so towards the end of the match here, we had a ref bump. Naito hits a low blow on Gato, who tries to come in, but then Jay low blows Naito. But Naito counters into a dragon suplex. Naito, a low blow by Gato again. Chair shot by Jay on a Naito. Then hits it with a sleeper suplex, but there's no ref to count the fall. Naito fights out of the Blade Runner. Jay hits him with the sleeper suplex. Then Naito comes back, hits the running Destino. Both are down. Go into counters. Naito hits a Poison Rana. Destino for a near fall. Jay then counters another Destino. Tries to hit the Blade Runner, but Naito counters into that snowplow brainbuster.
Northern Lights bomb.
Yeah, Northern Lights bomb, and hits the Destino 1, 2, 3, and gets the win. And we have a new Intercontinental Champion.
I did hear Dave Meltzer say on his show, he's like, yeah, he busts out the Northern Lights driver, Northern Lights bomb. He doesn't usually do that. And I was like, Dave, I've been seeing this man hit this Northern Lights bomb all year long.
Right.
It's kind of like one of his major
signature
moves. It's one of his signature moves now.
Right.
But great. Yeah, I thought the finishing segment was pretty good.
Yeah.
So then the main event, we have the Golden Star, Kota Ibushi, the G1 Climax winner 2019, challenging for the IWGP title against the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada.
Yeah, and just fantastic main event. Everything about this, the VTR, the entrances, the sequence, the storytelling, the match was all fantastic. We have Okada's gear. Dude.
Both of these guys had fantastic gear. Both of these guys had really incredible entrances. I really liked the glitter for the Kota Ibushi sort of entrance that dropped from the sky. That was cool.
Right, and his music was a little bit remixed also.
Yeah, and Okada's was too.
Yeah.
But Okada's entrance with the screen and
the rain falling
and
on
the rain
him.
falling and the he had a fucking umbrella and he's the Rainmaker, and then he came out with the white like robe and it was glow in the dark and it was translucent. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah, it was dope.
It was like one of the best dome entrances of all time. Like, I put it up there. It's not quite Nakamura with the crown and everything, but it's close.
But yeah, it was high. Like, I feel like in wrestling in general, we really don't see a lot of like really big, like super cool entrances anymore.
Well, Cody every week on Dynamite.
Sorry, Floyd. But yeah, yeah, Okada comes out here, this big grand entrance, the video wall in the rain, this white gear. It looks like it's like glowing in the
It
dark.
was so cool.
And there's a pattern and design. It was awesome. And then he takes his gear off, and he has these new like sparkly, like shiny metallic.
Shout out
trunks.
to Kevin Dunn. He must have been running the video production this night because they missed him taking off the robe. It's like his famous spot. I don't know how they missed that shit.
Yeah, the short pants pop.
Yeah, but normally he wears what we call trunks, and most people call trunks like shorts. He usually wears like the shorts. Trunks are usually more like the shorter.
It's the Stone Cold, Triple H,
Randy Orton. Right. He was wearing legit trunks for the first time. I think since he was a young lion, have I ever seen him wear trunks like this? But they were like Rainmaker trunks.
Right. And
it was awesome.
I think it was one of those things where like he's like, I want to try something new. I'm going to do the pants. And he got so much heat for the pants. He's like,
hated the pants.
I want to do something new. So I can't do pants. I guess I'll just go shorter then and go trunks.
Bro, these trunks were awesome. Plus he had like the knee pads with the boots, the high-rise boots that went all the way up to the knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked like fucking Lex Luger. He's dope.
Oh, man. But yeah, both guys. Yeah, and Ibushi's gear, looked raw as well.
Ibushi always has raw gear. Like, they're always derivatives of what he always, like, his same color scheme. So people kind of sleep on them, but, like, Ibushi always has, like, some of the rawest gear in the game, period. But the fans were really into this match, like, really into it. And I was glad for Ibushi to be in this spot, finally, against the Rainmaker. Main event, January 4th, Tokyo Dome. And, I'm going to let you get into it here in a moment, Jeremy, but I want to say this. I said last week on the preview, if any match has a chance to steal the show, it'll probably be Takahashi and Ospreay. But if any match is probably going to be the match of the weekend, and maybe the match of the year, it's going to be Okada and Ibushi on January 4th in the Tokyo Dome. And I think I was right.
Yeah, dude. These guys went out here, absolutely freaking killed it, man. This match went 39 minutes, but unlike the Jay White and Naito match, this match had a great pace. It at no point during this match that it felt like it was going too slow or that it was dragging. It was really, really violent. It was brutal. There was a great story just being told between both gentlemen. Okada busting out some of his old signature maneuvers. He brought back the red ink submission. He brought back the heavy rain, which is like that elevated attitude adjustment. Just really great stuff here.
Yeah, I was surprised he didn't break out the red bank.
What's the red bank?
It's sort of like his old STF style.
Wasn't that the red ink? What he did?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, red ink.
He did do the red ink.
He did do red ink.
Yeah.
Oh god, I told you I messed up all these finisher names. No, he did the heavy rain.
He did both of them.
And he did red ink too.
Yeah.
My god, what the fuck's wrong with me? Man, okay. So here's the thing. We went almost 40 minutes with this match. One of the longer Okada matches that we've gotten in a very long time. There were some people who were criticizing this match for going too long. Not because it was too long, but because, we got to the 15-minute mark and they were like, nothing had really happened yet. It was just a standard building to the finishing climax, just like a lot of Okada's matches. But I got to tell you, I think there's an art to what Okada does. And I think that, like, yes, if you compare his matches, like, against one another, you can find some similarities across the board, which is similar to any wrestler. You could do the same thing with Ospreay, who's a great example in modern times. You could do it with Bret Hart, Ric Flair. Lots of guys get comfortable doing certain things. Okada has drawn out long matches, but I think that there is a psychology to the types of reactions that he gets in the latter half of his matches based off the first half. In many cases, you won't get that that sort of visceral reaction from the fans and even yourself, if not for that long, drawn-out build. And that's not to say that stuff isn't important. I could see like where some people are like, well, there's not a clear-cut psychological story being told, but they're wrestling. And not only are they wrestling, but Okada and Ibushi are doing some really, really good wrestling. I did think when I was watching it, I was like, man, they haven't really picked up yet, so we're not really at the point where I'd like them to be. And I'm wondering, and it started going a long time, and Okada hasn't gone 40 minutes with anybody in quite a while. So I was like, man, is this match going to be as good as I hoped it would be? But then once Murder Coda came out, everything changed. And from that point on, it became one of the best matches of the year. I think easily this stands up to any of the best matches that we saw in the last decade. Seriously, it was that good.
It was. Yeah, dude, this match was just phenomenal. A masterpiece. Dude, I lost my mind when Okada kicked out at 1 after a Bomaye knee strike.
I loved that. There was also, I don't know, there was like a certain poeticness to that sort of aspect because Ibushi had a connection to Nakamura and, he borrows the Bomaye. But people forget, like, Okada ran Chaos with Nakamura. That was his boy.
Right, yeah.
That was his mentor, So I'm kind of like, you're not going to, like, when he kicked out at 1, like, yes, Kota Ibushi was channeling Nakamura by using his move to try to put Okada away. But I almost feel like Okada was channeling Nakamura's fighting spirit and kicking out at 1. He's like, fuck you. You're not going to beat me with my boy's my boy's move. Like, right. What do you think? You think I don't know about the Bomaye? Like, I train with this dude. I live with this dude. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, and then Ibushi, he hit another Bomaye and then followed up with the Kamigoye, which Okada still kicked out of both of those. And that was a crazy near fall also.
There was something funny. I've noticed this a lot. When they started going into the striking segment where Kota Ibushi started no-selling everything that Okada was doing, and he started going into like what we kind of affectionately term the Murder Coda phase. And that's not something we came up with. That's just kind of widely regarded, like, if you're in the New Japan, like, community, that's what you kind of call it.
Right.
We don't really know what it's called, but that's just what we call it. Dude, you can go back to, like, Wrestle Kingdom 9 or even earlier and, like, draw on so many different matches where he's done that. But every year, Wrestle Kingdom draws new fans and eyes and audiences. So I hear so many people that are covering it. They're like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. It was like a Hulk Hogan Hulk up, but way more understated and just so visceral and powerful. And I'm like, all right, you never watched New Japan. Like, anytime I hear people talking like that, I know that they don't like actually watch this product because we see it pretty
often, yeah,
in big matches. You know what I mean? Like, of course it is saved for the big moments and he knows the right times to do it. But like those of us who know, we kind of know, you know what I mean? And so, but then I also feel like a podcast, like who knows what it is that they're just like, all right, so we had the Murder Coda segment and then they move on. And there's obviously new listeners, people who are new to this, who don't know what it is. And like Kota Ibushi has that next gear where like, he'll be going from like just being a regular competitor to like you trigger him and he gets triggered and suddenly like he's gonna kill you.
For the Dragon Ball Z fans out there,
it's
Goku. Like Goku's all about having a nice fight. Let's train, let's fight. But then when you start messing with planet Earth, his family, this man turns Super Saiyan.
Is there anybody like in wrestling that like more embodies like the spirit of like what Goku is than Kota Ibushi?
You could argue Tanahashi.
I don't think so.
But
I think Ibushi's way more.
Ibushi 100%.
Plus, like, I know like Goku like had kids and stuff, but I don't know. He never really paid much attention to Chi-Chi.
And Gohan and Goten.
He wanted to chill with his boys. Like,
yeah, he let Piccolo do the race.
Oh, man. But Goku, where are your kids? They were Piccolo. But back to this classic match that we're
right. And then a great piece of storytelling here with Ibushi missing the Phoenix Splash, and we saw that with Kenny Omega missing the Phoenix Splash against Jon Moxley at Full Gear. So these guys building up their match and cross promotions.
I think what was more telling was like, okay, so Ibushi hit him with the Kamigoye, he hit him with the Bombayes, he hit him with the Last Ride. He tried every single major move that he has, and Okada kicked out. And at the very, very near end of the match, he tried a V-trigger.
He did hit the V-trigger. And
he hit it.
Right. Okada hit him with two Rainmakers, got a near fall. Then Okada pulls him up to hit him for another one, and that's where he hits the V-trigger.
Yes.
And on commentary, they called it a V-trigger.
They called it that, yeah. I didn't hear it because we were all shouting so loud, but later on, I confirmed that they called it a V-trigger. Think about this. Kenny Omega's wrestling Jon Moxley in a major, a career-defining match for him, and he's tried every move, every single thing he can try, and then as a last resort, because he can't put Moxley away, he goes for a fucking Phoenix Splash as a last resort, and he misses, and it fails, and he loses. Conversely, Ibushi, in the most important match of his life in the Tokyo Dome against Okada, he's tried every single thing that he can try, and as a last resort, he thinks about Kenny, and he channels a V-trigger. He tries the V-trigger. He lands it, but it's still not enough to beat this man, and he still loses. And it's poetic. It's the same thing on two different continents. These guys are still going into business for themselves in two different companies that are not acknowledging the story. And for fans who know what's going on, we can see it very clearly. These guys are planning to do business with one another at some point, somewhere down the line, for sure.
Yeah. And then after that V-trigger, Okada kills him with a sit-out tombstone. Pretty much like an ape shit, pretty much.
It pretty much was, and it was awesome.
Yeah, and then one more Rainmaker, 1, 2, 3. Okada retains, and we have another match of the year candidate.
Okada had hit him with 4 Rainmakers, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was 4 or 5. Something. Yeah,
I mean, it depends on if you count the spin out Rainmakers and the short arm clothesline versions versus the full Rainmaker.
The full spin out, yeah.
Bro, this match was just so incredible. I was chatting with my girlfriend, and she was like, yeah, I think that's the greatest match I've ever seen in my life. And then I just told her, I was like, it is. Because I know the matches she's seen, and I know she hasn't seen. I know matches that exist that are better that she has not seen. I was like, nope, that's the best match you've ever seen. Yeah. It is incredible, bro.
Yeah, dude, this was everything I wanted and more.
There's people who will listen to us, think we're hyperbolic and we're fanboys and stuff, but we watch everything when it comes to New Japan, and this, bro, to me, this is every bit as good as Ospreay Shingo, every bit as good as Tanahashi and Omega last year, and every bit as good as the G1 final last year.
Right, and then if you want to go, cross promotion, this was as good or better than Walter Tyler Bate, Gargano and Cole, Pac and KZ, Kento Miyahara matches this.
It's gonna be hard to beat.
Yeah, at the beginning of the year, January. We got a lot. It's just like Kenny and Tanahashi from last year. It's locked in.
It's every year though. This company consistently every single year. That's what makes Wrestle Kingdom. Bro, you don't get that with WrestleMania. You might get some really good matches every once in a while with WrestleMania, but every year at Wrestle Kingdom, you get 1 or 2 match of the year contenders, and it's consistent. Whether it's Omega and Okada, Tanahashi and Okada, AJ Styles and Nakamura and Ibushi, this match, Tanahashi and Omega. It's every year. You get something, and this blew me away, bro.
Yeah.
And I we left this show, and my blood was pumping, and I was like, this was so great. I know that there weren't as many singles matches and high points as the second show, and I know some people might top to bottom from a star ratings perspective like the second show better, but I think the first show's better.
Yeah, what I'll say is I think, the second show from a consistency-wise across the board, if you average up your star ratings, the second night from a star rating wise, consistency wise, is probably the better show. But night one had the higher peaks, and there was nothing really besides maybe the main event on night two that reached the level of that Hiromu Ospreay and Okada Ibushi match.
Yep.
And so after the match, we had Naito arrives post match. Says, do you remember what you said to me 2 years ago? And says that tomorrow's his chance to beat Okada and walk away with both championships. And then Okada thanks Ibushi for the fight of his life and thanks the fans, and says he'll win tomorrow on night two.
All right, so let's get to night two. Let's go through as quick as possible.
All right, so we're night two of the Tokyo Dome. We open up with the Never Openweight Trios Gauntlet match with the champions Ryusuke Taguchi, Togi Makabe, and Toru Yano defending against Ishii, Yoshihashi, Robbie Eagles, Evil, Shingo, and Bushi, Taichi, Desperado, Kanemaru, and Bad Luck Fale, Yujiro Takahashi, and Chase Owens. I thought this was a solid match for what it was. They kept the action pretty quick with some quick eliminations. There was the New Japan of America ref was in there, and dude, he was calling it as a shoot, man. You see that?
Yeah, I did see it. But he messed up.
Yeah, he did. So let's talk about these eliminations first. So there was chaos. They eliminated Bullet Club at first. Ishii hit a brain buster for elimination there at 3 minutes, 40 seconds. Then Suzuki-gun came into the match. And then Robbie Eagles cradled up Kanemaru for an elimination at 8:35. And that's when we get Los Ingobernables de Japón coming in. And this is where we had the mess up from the New Japan of America ref. So Evil hits the Darkness Falls. And clearly Ishii was supposed to kick out or did kick out. Or
He's not going to get pinned with the Darkness Falls,
right.
Period.
It's a secondary move. And Ishii kicked out, but the ref was like, nah, it was 3.
No, so the ref fucked up the count, and they thought it was a 3. I think he only counted 2, to be honest, but he hesitated and stayed down too long. And then they rang the bell, and then he was like giving them the 2 signal, and he was saying no. And then they were like, we're not changing it. Like, because of time.
I thought he was saying it was 3.
Okay. I do want to say this before we continue. I watched this not live like Jeremy. I watched this on the English feed the next day, and it was all sorts of fucked up.
Yeah, dude.
So it could have easily been 3 where I was seeing him do 2. I thought he was trying to tell them it was 2, and they were like, shut up, American Young Boy. Ref, it's 3. We're going to keep going. But it seemed like nobody really knew what was going on.
To me, it sounded like he was saying 3, because even on commentary, they were like, oh, no, he's saying it's 3.
I heard them saying that, but I saw his finger saying 2 and his head shaking no. That's my take. I could be wrong.
Yeah. But yeah, I did.
Either way, it was weird.
Stay up to watch this thing live. And believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, it was the first time I've ever watched a Japanese New Japan show live. So I know a lot of people are shocked by that fact. It's pulling the curtains back. A lot of times, just because of work schedule and other stuff, other commitments, I usually watch the shows the next day, in the morning, in the afternoon, avoid spoilers and do all that stuff. But this one was starting at midnight. I was like, you know what? Screw it. We'll do it live. Got some caffeine loaded up and watch this thing live.
Proud of you, bro.
Thank you. So we had that botch there where he's supposed to kick out the Darkness Fall. So ref calls it at 3, but you notice Evil still hit him with the everything is evil afterwards. Yeah,
because he was about to probably anyways.
Right. Yeah. Either way, Ishii was going to get eliminated.
Although Ishii was going to get take the pinfall, that sucks.
Yeah. Because obviously I didn't watch this with Rich. I was wondering like what his reaction was.
I thought about it too. I was like, I wonder what Rich is thinking right now.
Oh my gosh. So LIJ got Chaos out of there, and then it came down to LIJ and the champion's most violent Perverts. Got some missed action by Bushi, which led into a pumping bomber by Shingo and a Made in Japan 1, 2, 3. We have new Never Six-Man champs Shingo, Evil, and Bushi. And the Golden Roll Call is closer and closer.
Yep. This was something we predicted. It just made all the sense in the world. Who's the biggest star from the best faction in this match? It was obviously LIJ. It was obviously Shingo. He wasn't going to get a big moment on the, in the dome on the main card. So it seemed like, based on our thinking at the time, we're like, yeah, they're going to do the LIJ roll call. Naito's obviously winning. And it makes sense for LIJ to win here. Didn't work out that way, but right. we at least had the foresight to see that Shingo would pick up the win here. And the funny thing is, like, Most Violent Perverts had the longest reign with the six-man gauntlet tag team titles of all time. I don't even know if they defended it more than once. I think they might have defended it like twice.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. But, yeah, great big title win. And we go on to the main card here.
Yeah, so we open up with the Liger Retirement Match 2 as the team of...
The actual retirement match.
Right, as the team of Hiromu Takahashi and Ryu Lee take on the team of Jushin Thunder Liger and Naoki Sano. Ryu Lee came out to the ring wearing...
Why did they have him come out? Well, he came out with the belt, but they had it blackened over it like he was Ric Flair back in the 90s in WWF. You didn't see that?
No, I saw the title.
No, the title he came out with, they had like a black mark over it the whole time. What title is he holding?
The Ring of Honor TV title.
What?
I did not see. I saw the normal Ring of Honor TV title.
No, I'm just messing with you.
But they did not.
They might as well have had a black mark on it because they did not acknowledge this title whatsoever.
They did not make any mention of the Ring of Honor title. Also, Ryu Lee was wearing his La Faction de Ingobernables Ring of Honor jersey that says Dragon Lee on the back.
I saw that.
And so obviously I heard on the Japanese commentary, they were, saying that's not LIJ. That is completely different. That's, that's Rush's thing. Like, he's not part of LIJ.
Did you watch it on the Japanese?
No, I was watching English, but I heard somebody, because there was all kind of streaming issues that night. Somebody that ended up watching on Japanese, they were like, the Japanese commentary was like, yeah, that this is not Los Ingobernables de Japón. This is like something different. He's not, part of LIJ.
Bro, we talked about it the other day on the show. There's like literally 5 different companies with Los Ingobernables groups right now currently. Like, and no one knows what the fuck is going on. You know what I mean? And the fact that there's crossover with some of those companies and they're not acknowledging each other's like Ingobernables groups, like, it's really, I mean, you've got AAA, you got CMLL, you got Nation, you got Ring of Honor, and you've got New Japan. And they all have completely different rosters with completely different canons. It's really weird right now.
Yeah. Also, there was Fujiwara was there at ringside. It was Liger's trainer. So yeah, I thought this was really good. Liger's final match.
I didn't think it was really good. I thought compared to the night before, I didn't enjoy it quite as much. Not just because of the nostalgia feels, but because I think Sano was probably a little bit banged up from the night before.
Yeah.
And I think you couldn't hide as many of the deficiencies in a straight 2-on-2 tag man match that you could with a multi-man match. Hiromu and Dragon and Ryu Lee did their best to, have a good match with these guys, but they definitely had to work a lot slower, in my opinion anyways.
Yeah. I thought I did a great job just taking care of these guys.
I thought they did a great job, but I didn't think at any point the crowd seemed to be super into it. I think that they popped really loud for the entrances and the standoffs, but when the match started, it was a somber affair, man.
Yeah.
It was somber. And I was sad watching it, of course. Like, I was sad just to kind of just know that it's Jushin Thunder Liger's last match. Of course, I'm glad for, like, the fact that he's not going to have to do this anymore and everything of that nature, but it was sad, man. And I think that the crowd really had the same feeling. When Liger finally took the pinfall, it was pretty quiet.
Right, even on night 1 too when he took the pinfall, because the crowd, they wanted to see Liger win both of these matches. Didn't win on night 1 and did not win here. Hiromu Takahashi hits the time bomb 1 and pins Liger, and the crowd just went super silent after that.
Yeah, and they did here too as well.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But yeah, so it's over. Jushin Thunder Liger, last match, puts over the Future Generation on the way out.
Yeah, and I mean, that's exactly what you would expect from someone of the ilk of Jushin Thunder Liger. I mean, you know, his generation was taught, you know, you do the favor, you do the honor, you go out on your back. That's exactly what he did here both nights. And, you know, it was funny. I was kind of waiting for the, like, I'm sorry, I love you moment.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
We didn't get exactly that, but Hiromu did at the end of the match, like, basically Chris Charlton gave us the translation. And he said, you know, you built this division by yourself, and I promise you I'm going to carry on your legacy and raise it to new heights, basically.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, and then after Liger got pinned, at this point, if people who are watching live, New Japan World completely took a crap. Both streams went down. I had a hard time getting back on. Some people got back on the Japanese stream. Neither stream was working for me. Shout out to Chris Samsa, who was on last week. Shot me a link with English stream, alternative methods, and I was able to pick up and watch the rest of the show just fine.
You should hit me up. I know a way to do it too. You have to.
Well, you're probably sleeping.
You can reach me anytime. You know that.
But that little interruption did cause me to miss the opening of this next match of the IWGP Junior Tag Championship match with the champions El Phantasmo and Taiji Ishimori defending against the Junior Tag League winners Roppongi 3K. So I did miss the first few minutes, kind of came in midway towards the match. I mean, from what I saw, from where I saw it to the end, I thought it was really good. But I have not gotten a chance to go back and watch this match from the beginning.
Yeah, so this match was fine. I'm sure there's probably some people listening right now, like rolling their eyes already because they're like, "Oh God, Josh, you know, reviewing a Phantasmo match." But you know, I will say this: even for everything I always kind of like complain about him, I think most of the deficiencies that I have complaints about are sort of hidden in a tag team match, and you know, I actually prefer to see him and Ishimori as a tag team versus him as a singles. I thought this match was fine. It did not blow me away. They did do a lot of like really cool spots early on. A lot of, you know, the high flying sort of like technical stuff you'd expect from a Roppongi 3K and Bullet Club match. At the same time, they did do a prolonged sequence of the heel stuff. You know, these guys were doing a lot of back rakes. They were doing like in the early part of the match, like they kept like doing the quick tags and cutting off the ring, and they were keeping Show in the ring, and they kept raking his back.
I did see Phantasmo did a moonsault back rake.
Yeah, and they built to it for a really long time, and it was fine if you're into that. I just was kind of like, you know, whatever. But it didn't bother me. It's just whatever. Ultimately, it was about like Yo was the kind of the guy to get the you know, the hot tag. I was surprised. I didn't think they were going to get as much time as they did. They got almost 14 minutes. And the one thing I will say is I don't think they did enough with the time. I think they had a fine match, but it wasn't a great match. This was another instance where it reminded me of like an undercard WrestleMania match where it was like, it was built well, told a good story, it was enjoyable, but it didn't like stick out to me as being this great thing. Whereas like I remember some of those multi-man junior like 4-ways and 3-ways like being blow away because they were just spectacle spot fest.
Right.
Or even like the Roppongi 3K Bullet Club match from a couple of years ago. Was that last year? No, 2 years ago.
Or Roppongi 3K versus Young Bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
That was great. They had an awesome story with that match. They didn't really tell that story here. This was kind of your standard junior tag Roppongi 3K style match. It heated up towards the end. There was a lot of shenanigans, and then the story here was kind of like Phantasmo's been punching people in the dick all year, and he tried to do that to Show,
yeah,
and Show had a cup on.
Yeah, dude, I did pop for that.
I popped for that. I liked that.
Yeah.
I thought it was smart. I thought it was good. And then at the end, Roppongi 3K hitting they hit the 3K, but then they hit a new finisher.
Yeah, according to NJPW 1972, they hit the Shock X, which is the Shock Arrow, and Yo does a double stomp. Essentially, if you're familiar with the Lucha Brothers, it's their finisher where Pentagon does the package pile driver and Phoenix does the double stomp.
Yeah, it kind of reminded me of like the Strong Zero as well.
Right, yeah, Trent and Chucky.
And, they put away the Bullet Club here, finally, kind of got rid of all that frustration and defeated these guys, which it was a satisfying win. Here's a funny thing. I've listened to so many different podcasts and so many different audios who are like, I'm fucking tired of this. Roppongi 3K winning in the Dome every year.
This is the first time they won.
They've never won the belts in the Dome. They're like, every year they win the fucking tag league and then they go to the Dome and they win. I've heard at least 5 different publications say that.
Wow.
Because it feels like it.
Right. They have won the Junior Tag League 3 years in a row.
And they've held the tag belts a lot.
Right. But
so it feels like they come here and they win every year. But the reality is they've never won the belts in the Dome.
Yeah.
They take a lot of L's.
This was a big moment for them.
Dude, I did not know this, but based on the information that was provided in the Voices of Wrestling New Japan book that you were a part of, do you know that they've only had one successful tag title defense since they won the IWGP title ever?
I did not realize that, but it makes sense.
I did not know that.
Because they always, they win the belt.
And then they lose it.
Right. And I think, too, it helps. There's usually 2 to 3 months in between their title reigns. So you think, oh, yeah, they've held it for a while. They defended it. Nah.
One successful title defense ever. So I'm hoping that this leads to a lengthy title run for them. But knowing them, knowing the way they book these guys, no.
Right. Well, and we'll talk about their next challengers
in a little bit.
Yeah, we'll get to Dash.
This was fine. I would have given this 3 1/4.
Based on what I saw, I went 3.5 on it. So,
I mean, it wasn't better than that Liger tag.
Oh my gosh. So we move on to the next matchup here. We have the Rev Pro British Heavyweight Championship on the line as a champion. Zack Sabre Jr. defends against Sonata. And I really love this match.
I loved this match.
I love Sabre and Sonata matches.
I love Sabre and Sonata matches.
Dude, this was a 10-minute, 45-second match. Essentially, this kind of reminded me of a...
See, I'm on a different publication. They've got 12 minutes, but I don't know.
Okay, 10 to 12 minutes. I should probably be looking at New Japan's site to get the official time.
I'm on Reddit. I'm sorry, I'm on Wikipedia. And here's the thing about Wikipedia. Anybody can put anything on Wikipedia, so you know you're getting the best information.
Right. So it's always right.
Michael Scott.
But anyway, 10 to 12 minutes, whatever it was. It reminded me of a high-speed match in Stardom. Just bang, 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 counter after counter, hold after hold, high pace. Literally, this is a high-paced match from the get-go.
This is my favorite Zack Sabre Sonata match of all time. And I've loved I've liked to loved every single match they've ever had that I've ever seen. And they just really, really blow me away here. But this was the culmination of the story they've been telling, and they did it so perfectly. I was literally just marking out the entire time. Every year at Wrestle Kingdom, there's a match that I love more than most people. A few years ago, it was Ibushi and Cody.
I love that match too.
I love that match. And a lot of people kind of sleep on that match. But for me, of both weekend shows, this is the match where I've seen a lot of people be really good, 3 3/4, 4 stars. I'm like, fuck, that's better than that. But no, I love this match. I just thought that it fit the story that they'd been building to. The idea that these two guys were able to match one another, hold for hold, move for move. And every single segment, so often we see guys do these same kind of segments that these guys do, but it feels like they're just rolling around.
Right, yeah.
Whereas this felt like there was a real, literal struggle happening to where they're trying to pin each other's shoulders to the mat for a 3 count.
Right. And also, it wasn't like one of your like Zack Sabre matches where like he's like purposefully slowing it down and just putting you in a bunch of holes.
Well, he did try to get some submissions for sure.
He did, but it felt different though. It's not normal. Sometimes
right.
I like Sabre, but sometimes he had those matches where it's like, oh my gosh, come on. But here, like, it just felt like a fight and they were trying to finish each other.
Dude, it's funny how like terminology for like wrestling has changed over the years, but in the 80s, this would have been the ultimate spot fest. This would have been seen as a spot fest because it's like these guys are doing nothing but spots. Like, like boom, 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 boom. This is way faster than like Steamboat Savage. Like this was crazy.
Yeah.
The pace that they wrestled at. It was a neck break pace.
Yeah, loved it. And
I loved it too.
At the end, I thought they were gonna do a submission based off the VTR and the promos, but they ended up doing another counter near fall, and it was Sabre who was able to hit the European clutch on Sonata. 1, 2, 3. Sabre retains.
Not only that, but it was like a roll up. Countered into a roll-up, countered into a roll-up, countered into a roll-up before he finally was able to, like, catch him with it. So it's like every single time these guys wrestle, it always feels like either of them can pin each other at any moment, and that's exactly what happened here. Now, I was disappointed because I was like, all right, Hiromu won, the rest of the boys won the 6-man gauntlet. Obviously, I think Naito's winning. Sonata's the one last missing link, and it made a lot of like sense to me why Sonata could hypothetically win, but he was the one I was the least sure about because I was like, it's still Zack Sabre. He's still one of the biggest stars in all of Europe. You know what I mean? Like he's still a big draw there.
Right, yeah.
He's still a protected commodity here, and he's taking a lot of L's over the calendar year that he didn't need to take.
Right. Like I just thought Sonata was winning just the way they were pushing him this year and first big singles match in the Dome. But
that's what I thought too.
When I watched the VTR, it was talking.
That made me nervous.
It was like Sabre's had a horrible 2019.
Yeah,
it shows him like all these losing and like Boris Johnson, all the backstage stuff.
And you were like, "Oh fuck,
yeah,
bro." That's what I was.
I'm like 2020's turning it up. Like he's about to win this match.
He's about to win the New Japan Cup again.
Yep. This man's about to win the G1 this year. But yeah, as soon as I saw like,
bro, how funny it would be like. Friends over at One Nation Radio, Rich and James, they're like starting to a little bit come around on like Zack Sabre. Like they don't love him, but they don't like criticize him like they did before. But if this man wins the G1, oh my, we're gonna get a Rich Latta rant.
Oh man,
this man won the fucking G1.
Yeah, but in the moment, even though like I saw the VTR,
I was still happy with the match.
I was still happy with the match, but I still was a little surprised to not have lost. And I was like, no golden roll call.
That's what I thought.
But it was also pretty brilliant because that puts plants a seed of doubt in your mind. Like, oh.
Well, who was ahead of Naito all year long?
Sonata.
He's the one guy who was ahead of him from a stature standpoint. And now, if you had to, like, in the matter of one night, like, argue, like, what's the, like... Pecking order. He's definitely not number 2. Well, maybe he is again. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but like at least on that night, it kind of made it seem like he's not. You know what I mean?
Right.
So maybe that like actually helps Naito's cause long term. But I think it's an interesting storytelling element for sure.
So next up, we move to the IWGP US Championship match as Jon Moxley defends against Juice Robinson. As we mentioned, obviously, Jon Moxley defeated Lance Archer on night 1 to get in this match, and Juice Robinson did nothing to deserve this match. And honestly, I was disappointed with this match. We saw their first encounter at the Best of the Super Junior Finals back in June, and I thought that match was awesome. Then we saw them again in the G1, and I thought that match was good. I didn't think it was as awesome as the Best of Super Junior Finals match, but I was still expecting this match to probably be on the same level as the G1 match, but it did not hit that, and I was very disappointed with this matchup.
Yeah. Do we blame Juice?
I don't know what it was like. I don't know if it was the crowd or just what they were doing. Like this, I don't know.
Well, that was one thing that was reported. Like both nights when Juice came out, and I hate to say this because we like Juice, and this has happened not just this year, but last year when he was in the Dome as well. And those were different circumstances, but from the reports I read and from what I've heard from people that were there, when Juice came out, people went to the bathroom, people went to the concession stands. So I don't know. Jon Moxley cut a really incredible promo when he went to the media section after night one, where he basically said Juice cost him the G1 and that meant everything to him. And the only reason he didn't win the G1 is because of Juice, and he was going to make Juice pay. The real question here is, why was this happening if Juice wasn't going to win the U.S. title at all? You sent out a tweet, which I had not seen, but I echoed your sentiments when I was by myself watching this. We both basically said, Juice looks like such a goof at this point and is so unbelievable as a challenger that I don't even want him to beat Mox.
Yeah, I tweeted. I was like, yeah, Juice looks like a goof. I want Mox to steamroll him, were my exact words.
Okay, I said something almost verbatim to that, and I hadn't seen your tweet. Like, I was watching this with Megan, I was like, Juice looks like such a loser at this point, or such a goof. Like, I don't want him to be the champion. He doesn't look like the champion, but I still expected him to win. But I was sitting there thinking, I don't know, New Japan, what are y'all doing? Juice, what are you doing? I literally believed wholeheartedly Juice was winning, and I was like, why doesn't he look prepared? You know what I mean? And then the match happened and he lost, and I was like, oh, that's why. But then that causes a lot of questions to come to me. Why did they do this match at all if Juice was going to lose? They didn't need to do two matches with Mox in the Dome. They could have done just the night two. If they really wanted to beef up night two, they could have just done Mox versus Archer in the Texas Death Match. That would have been fine. He didn't have to wrestle Juice Robinson a second time. I don't know how this helped Juice in any way.
Right. Like Juice did nothing to earn this. There's no, I don't get how, what was the logical reasoning for this match happening?
To me, booking wise, this might be the first or second biggest blunder of the entire weekend. It's really bizarre. The other thing with it too is the match was fine. It was good. I don't know if its placement on the card was where it needed to be. They worked hard, but it didn't really deliver. It felt like too little too late. The whole thing with Mox and Juice had kind of passed.
Right. The heat was gone.
They didn't have a VTR.
Yeah.
Juice, the difference between Juice and Archer is Archer did a lot to build the matchup. I know Juice didn't have that luxury because he didn't know for sure if Mox was winning. Well, in kayfabe,
he could have cut a promo on both guys.
He should have done something. New Japan should have done something. This was kind of heatless by the time it happened. And for a guy that's as big of a star as Mox, it didn't help him. It didn't elevate Juice in any way. Neither guy is lower or higher than where they were. It was kind of just a non-issue by the time it ended. I did enjoy it for what it was, but it was just a a non sequitur. This was basically like Miz and Kofi on a SmackDown.
Yeah, it would have been a good TV match, but
It was a fine TV match.
Yeah, and so Jon Moxley gets the win with the Death Rider. But then we had this awesome.
This was awesome.
Post-match attack. So, Moxley celebrating, and then Kaze ni Nare hits the King. Minoru Suzuki arrives on the scene. He's wearing his Suzuki Gun tracksuit. He starts smiling and laughing, rips off the pants, rips off the jacket, beelines to the ring. He starts brawling with Moxley. Then he chokes him, hits him with the Gotch pile driver, grabs a belt and poses over him, and it looks like Suzuki is challenging for the IWGP United States Championship.
Which is needed because we were making jokes all weekend about how this is the real white strap. Because they've literally had no foreign or non-Gaijin like challengers for the title. It's literally just been all white guys since Kenny Omega beat Ishii for the title.
Right. And, it's kind of weird because obviously Moxley can't defend the U.S. title in the U.S.
Right.
So obviously he's going to be defending his title against Suzuki sometime down the line. But, you got New Beginning in USA coming up at the end of the month. It would make sense to do a U.S. title match there unless those shows are not televised and Moxley can compete on the show if they're not televised.
That's one thing. Another thing, too, is I don't know. Did you hear about the idea that Mox might have an out with his contract with AEW?
What you mean, like an
out?
Like a certain month time point or whatever? Yeah.
That he can
opt out.
Opt out.
Yeah.
So I've heard that he has an opt-out clause, and that's one thing he could hypothetically be thinking about exercising. I don't know that that's true. That's just something I heard. I don't think he would. That doesn't make a lot of sense. But the other thing, too, is it's very clear that there's not, and we'll talk about it later, there's not a working relationship between these two companies. There's just not. But things have softened, for sure, between AEW and New Japan. So is it possible that there might be a concession from Tony Khan to allow Moxley to work these dates as the champion in North America? That's a possibility.
Right.
There's also the possibility that we have, as New Japan fans, anticipated that the U.S. title might be highlighted on their New Beginning U.S. tour more than it actually might be. It might not be at all. And we've just thought that it should be because that was the think about it this way. The Never title originally was supposed to be a title for young up-and-coming fighters. And it never became that. It never was that, and it has never been that. But that's sort of what it was. Same thing with the U.S. title. The U.S. title was supposed to be this U.S. expansion belt, and it's never really kind of been that.
Right.
Like, we got an ROH match between Kenny and Yoshi, and that's about it. So maybe we all think it's going to be this like U.S. expansion title. It's really not.
All I'm saying is we got tickets now for a New Beginning in St. Pete. I'm trying to see Suzuki versus Moxley for the main event, St. Pete Coliseum.
Do you think they're going to do that on the first night?
Is Tampa the first night?
It's one of them. Miami's the last night, or Georgia.
Georgia is the last night.
So we're not getting the title match.
Hey, man, you kick off a tour with a bang,
But, I think I was wrong. I was anticipating that maybe this would be like a Bloodsport match, but I think New Japan's going to put the nix on that and be like, nah, playa.
Yeah.
Nah. So, I am looking. I thought that it makes a lot of sense why they didn't do Suzuki's music on the first night because they were waiting for this pop on the second night. But I'm like, in a way, I'm kind of like, did they just sacrifice Juice Robinson so that they could build a program between Mox and Suzuki? Like, okay, that's fine. But I don't know. I think this is super questionable. I think it was stupid booking. They didn't need to do Juice and Mox whatsoever. You know what I mean?
Right.
And part of me does feel like, we should have seen this coming. It's Moxley. We should have seen it coming. But we worked ourselves into a shoot. We're like, Juice definitely winning both belts.
Right. Well, the story made sense for Juice to win, but
sort of.
So we move on to the Never Openweight Championship match as the champion Kenta defends against the challenger Hiroki Goto. No Shibata to second here. No Shibata at all.
Yes. So, this is probably one of the more divisive matches in terms of fan reception. I've seen people who really, really, really loved it. I've seen people who've been super cold on it. So this is probably one of the ones with the widest range of opinions. But just shocked that Shibata wasn't involved in any way with the match whatsoever. And for a while I thought maybe he's just not there, but we found out the next night he's in Japan. So what the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know what was going on there. Like,
oh, you want to hear something?
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar's going to be in the Royal Rumble.
Oh my gosh.
Glad they took the belt off Kofi.
Anyway, yeah, I don't get, like, obviously they want to generate heat with Shibata angle, which it did, best angle of 2019, but at the end of the day, they kept involving Shibata, and then all of a sudden they stopped involving him, and then he's just not back at all.
Well, I think the last, angle where he took a lot of bumps and stuff was around the time that they were building to Goto being the challenger. So I think that they were trying to get sympathy and translate that to Goto because they never mentioned Shibata again. They never brought him back. And then the whole build was between Shibata and Kenta. Or I'm sorry, Goto and Kenta. So, but I always thought they would involve Shibata, especially given their connection. Here's the one thing. If you weren't going to involve their connection, involve their friendship, involve their long storied past, and do some sort of quote-unquote comeuppance when it comes to Shibata, then why go with Goto at all? Yeah. This could have easily been Ishii.
Right. They could have swapped the Goto and Ishii, like have Goto fight earlier on and then this Ishii, yeah.
Right. They could have flip-flopped it. Have Goto be that guy that was getting beat up by Kenta early on in the other tours, and then have Ishii be the dome guy, or whatever you wanted to do. Like, I don't know, man. It's just it's fine. I think you and I have different opinions and experiences when it comes to this match, but I also have to admit that I was watching it on that faulty feed, and that might have kind of soured my experience on the match just a little bit. I'll let you give me yours in a moment, but I thought the match was good. I didn't think it was great. Part of it was I thought that the crowd was dead from the probably the Liger match up until the Y2J match. I just thought the crowd was dead. Even during the Jay White Kota Ibushi match. I just think the crowd didn't care. I don't think they reacted much to Goto and Kenta until the very end. I thought the closing segment was fantastic, but the rest of the match was kind of just lackluster. They were hitting... Now, I read and heard where there were people talking about how hard they hit each other and that this might have been one of the most hard-hitting matches they've ever seen. I don't know if I thought that, but I thought they're hitting each other pretty hard. But again, I was watching it on a pretty faulty feed, so I don't know. But when Goto beat Kenta clean at 16 minutes, I was kind of shocked. And then there was never a Shibata, and then the match just kind of ended, and I was just like, oh, that was good, but kind of flat.
Yeah. So for me at this point, I'm hyped up on coffee and Red Bull. So I don't know. I really enjoyed this match. I thought it was very hard hitting. I don't think it was the hardest hitting match I've seen, but I thought they were hitting each other.
I heard Brian Alvarez say that. He was saying that it was the hardest hitting fight he'd ever seen. I was like, what the I was like, really?
I wouldn't say that, but they were hitting each other very hard. The open hand slaps and chops, and Kenta really laid down his kicks, and the Psycho knee towards the end was awesome. And like you mentioned, that closing stretch was just fantastic. I was definitely higher on this match than you are. I thought it was a great hard-hitting battle. I think Kenta is really, settling in his role here as this heel generates heat throughout the match and just bathing in the booze and just, and you want to see him, get beat. And like I predicted. I thought they were going to get some comeuppance here because they were transitioning that sympathy onto Goto from Shibata, and Goto is fighting for Shibata's honor. So I figured that Goto was getting the win here, and like you mentioned, Goto hits the GTR in the end and gets the win clean.
Now, I'll say this. I think you are right with your logic, but I think you're wrong with what you're saying right now. Because they didn't involve Shibata at all. Shibata became a non-factor in the feud, and when you make him a non-factor in the feud, then the feud makes very little sense, if you want my honest opinion. Mm-hmm. What it really comes down to, and we'll talk about Kenta later in the show, I think it was just about getting the belt off Kenta.
Right.
More than anything about revenge or blood feud or comeuppance. It should have been about comeuppance. It should have been about a measure of revenge and all that. And maybe to the fans who were there, who remembered what happened with Shibata, that still mattered. But when Shibata didn't second him, he didn't make an appearance, he didn't come out, that kind of killed it for me. And I was like, why did they even take the belt off Kenta? We hear about guys like, quote unquote, losing up, getting freed of belts so that they can do other things. I think that's all this was.
Right.
You know?
I mean, for me, I don't know. That's what makes sense in my head. I can't forget that I saw that angle.
No, you were right when you were talking about the logic of it.
Yeah.
But the actual booking of it doesn't match that at all. And, originally I thought this. I was like, well, maybe they didn't bring Shibata out because they're maybe saving that match for later on, and they're still hoping to, not tease it because maybe they're going to do it later. And take it, for what you will. When I listened to One Nation Radio, the Wrestling Observer, they said that the official reports are that Shibata will never wrestle again. Just like I've been saying for well over a year.
Right.
That the guy is not going to be cleared, but that's what they're now officially saying. So, I don't know. I think maybe New Japan was like, well, we fucked up. We teased something before we actually had it approved. We were hoping it would be. Now it's not, so we don't even want to, approach it at all. They're taking, a caution first sort of, approach to it. And I think that's probably what happened here. But, it was fine. I thought the match was good. I think maybe I should rewatch it because some people seem to really, really love it. I didn't love it like that, but I would have gone, 3.5 on this.
Yeah, I went 4.25.
Oh, shit.
But yeah, so yeah.
But, there's a lot of this card where I was like that. Like with John Moxley and Juice, I was like 3.25 on that.
I went 3.5 on that.
Okay. But Zack Sabre and Sonata, I was like 4.25.
I think I went flat 4 on that.
I would have gone maybe higher if they were given just a little bit
more
time.
Yeah, I would have gone higher too if they had got more time.
I was like, once that match started, I was like, oh, shit. We are on pace. And then, these two matches happened, and I was like, all right, well, we on pace, I guess.
So, after that match, we had the traditional announcement of schedule for the big shows throughout the year. So, on February...
And also, I just want to say, something I'm not good with is arena sizes, show analysis. You're better with this stuff than I am. So, you go through it and you tell me, what is striking to you.
All right, so we have a new beginning in Sapporo, which is happening on February 1st and 2nd. New beginning in Osaka, February 9th. So we've mentioned this before.
That's big.
They're running Osaka Joe Hall twice this year. So new beginning in Osaka Joe Hall, February 9th. Then the 48th anniversary show will be happening in Ota City Gymnasium on March 3rd. The New Japan Cup Finals will be happening on March 20th and 21st. Sakura Genesis is back. We mentioned that a couple weeks ago. Sakura Genesis is happening again. That's going to be happening in Sumo Hall on March 31st. There's Wrestling Satsuma no Kuni, which is happening in the Kagoshima Arena on April 29th. Then Wrestling Dantaku is happening at the Fukuoka International Center, May 3rd and 4th. The Best of the Super Juniors final is happening at Ota City Gymnasium, June 6th. So there's kind of a change there. So last year's Best of Super Junior finals was in Sumo Hall. So they've kind of downgraded for the Best of Super Junior finals this year.
It's probably a good idea.
Then we got Dominion, Osaka-jo Hall as usual, June 14th. And then the G1 Climax 30 finals will be happening in Sumo Hall October 16th to the 18th. Like we mentioned earlier in this show, G1 has been moved to the fall, and we already kind of talked about this. We speculated about this months ago due to the Olympics being announced in Tokyo during the summer. So G1 Climax 30 going to be in the fall, finals in October.
Kind of funny. We'd heard other like New Japan speculators be like, "Oh, well, nothing's really confirmed. They might actually, the Olympics really aren't running that many different venues that they run during the G1. They might actually just run the G1 in the summer." And like we'd already heard and reported, like, no, it's gonna be in the fall,
Right?
And then come to find out, it's in the fall, just like we said it was gonna be. And yeah, but they're not in Budokan,
Right. They're back to Sumo Hall,
which is where that's
traditionally
their traditional roots. I think a lot of the reason they weren't there before had to do with like construction and things like that. So that makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Also, them not being in the Ryogoku for the Best Super Juniors finals makes sense. They did good numbers, but not great.
Not good enough,
numbers.
And obviously Shingo's not going to be in this year. Ospreay might not. We don't know 100% sure yet, but he might not be in there. So it makes sense to kind of scale it down.
I think the biggest surprise, well, a couple of surprises from this. No U.S. dates were announced. That was surprising. No international dates were announced at all. There was some gaps in the schedule, so there's some things to still be announced between now and, obviously later in the year. They didn't announce the Tokyo Dome for next year.
Right. And I think that's because they don't know if they want to do 1 or 2 nights or not.
I think so, too. I think that they want to analyze the data and the metrics and everything like that, what they did here, and kind of decide and negotiate and everything of that nature. And so I think that's why they didn't say, like, we'll see you next year in the Tokyo Dome.
Right, which they normally do, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Obviously, them running Osaka-jo Hall during New Beginning is a huge that's probably the most ambitious change in their schedule this year than they've had in the past, which means they're going to need to do something that really draws big business, because that's in February.
Right.
That's next month.
Yep, a month away from that.
Other than that, though, everything was pretty standard by the numbers. Did you say they're running Hinokuni?
Well, it's not Hinokuni. It's a different name. Unless it is Hinokuni, just shortened, but it's Wrestling Satsuma no Kuni.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's different from Hino. I guess it's not.
I was confused when I was watching it, because there was a few dates there that didn't have any like English names, and I was like, "What is happening during that date? What is that?"
Right.
But is that usually what tour is that usually? God.
So I think normally it was Wrestling Hinokuni.
Okay.
But
2019 was like what, during Dontaku tour?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was in April though, and then Dontaku leads into Dontaku, which is May.
Okay.
So same kind of schedule here, but for some reason the name's a little bit different.
Well, we don't have Sengoku Lord and we don't have Hinokuni, which were usually dates that took place during the Dontaku tour.
Right. And yeah, and no WrestleMania weekend announcement, which I pretty much figured they weren't running Tampa since they're doing it for New Beginning in USA. Why would you do it, twice so soon? So didn't think that was happening. Hearing rumors, there's been rumors about Madison Square Garden.
It seems like that might not be happening now.
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of, ifs. There's a lot of stuff going on there.
Yeah, and there was there have been some podcasts who've been alluding to it, and I just want to say they were not wrong. We'd heard things about it as well. We just hadn't chose to say anything about it just yet. But it appears like there might be some management changes as to what dates they run. So anyone who was anyone who was teasing it or saying they heard about it, they weren't wrong. That's from what we understand what management was saying. But it appears like it could still be happening. We went through this last year when they were thinking about running Madison Square Garden. It was like, will they, won't they? They were like, we heard the rumors. They're like, no. And then they're like, yes. And then they're like, no. And then
and then there was legal issues and all kinds of stuff.
Right. So it still could happen, but I'm going to tell you right now, I think they're not doing it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think they're going to do something big, but I don't think it's going to be Madison Square Garden.
Right.
And I hate to say this, but in the States, I think them running Madison Square Garden by themselves in August? That's going to be a failure. They shouldn't do it. So I'm kind of happy that it doesn't happen.
Right, but there, still rumors of some kind of big U.S. show in August.
They should do a big show.
Since there's we know G1 Climax, the schedule's going to be a little bit different, so they're probably going to do some more international stuff during that G1 the normal G1 period.
Yeah, and also obviously we talked about this before, we already knew it, but there's no Honor Rising.
Right, yeah, it's going to be those Tiger Hattori retirement shows.
Yep, so we got that. The biggest thing is, like, in the past, every year over the past 3 or 4 years, these announcements during Wrestle Kingdom have been bigger, more ambitious. Last year, it seemed like, wow, their schedule is so ambitious. I don't know what they're going to do, especially with them losing as much talent as they did. And they ended up coming out better for it. But now this year, it seems like they're a little bit scaling back.
Just a little bit, yeah.
And it's more in line with their traditional, we've always talked about the way that this company operates. We're like, they're very cautious. They're not that, they don't escalate things that fast. This is more in line with what I normally expect from New Japan as a corporate office.
Yeah. So back to the card now after that announcement that took us to the losers match where we had Switchblade, Jay White.
The consolation match, sir.
Against the Golden Star, Kota Ibushi. And now this match, I think way more than the Goto Kenta match. This is the most polarizing match that I've seen where
you think so?
You have people on two completely different ends of the spectrum. Some people love this match.
Oh, there's people that love this?
Dude, I like this match.
I liked it. I liked it way better than the Naito and Jay White match.
So do I, but I do think that once again there was too much shenanigans in this match. Like so much ref bunts, pulling the ref out, Gato involvement.
There was more sort of shenanigans and ref bumps and outside interference in this match than there was in the match before. Mm-hmm. But they were trending to have such a great match.
Yes, and that's why I see a lot of people going like 2 stars, 3 stars on this thing. And I'm like, dude, they were having a fantastic match. Having a fantastic match. They were doing such great stuff. Murder Kota came out and was killing Jay White.
White and Ibushi have fantastic chemistry. I don't know if Jay White has better chemistry with any other major guy in New Japan. If you think about it. Him and Naito don't. Him and Tanahashi don't. Him and Okada have good chemistry, but I would say not as good as him and Ibushi, and him and Omega did not. Who else has he wrestled in a major? Him and Goto, maybe.
Yeah.
Him and Goto have good chemistry. Him and Ibushi actually have really shockingly good chemistry. People don't acknowledge it. I think he's gonna have better matches with some of the new crop of guys that really him and Shingo.
Yeah.
Him and Goto. He has with guys that are bruisers, because of the type of style, he's the chicken shit heel. He seems to wrestle better matches with those guys that are the bruisers. And Ibushi's the best of that sort of ilk because he can do everything. Right. He's like a hybrid.
Yeah, and Ibushi was murdering this guy, and they were doing.
He's fucking him up.
Yeah, dude, and hit a lot of great spots. I ended up going 4 1/4 on this.
I wouldn't go that high. I thought it was good.
I know I was on the high end. Right now,
you're a little high
on Grapple. The average is 3.72.
I'd go 3.75.
So this. A lot of people are.
But it should have. You know what? It should have been higher. It should. Right. It should have been 4 1/4 or 4.5. It was trending that way, but every single time I was like, this match is great. They would do something to fuck it up. And it was, me, I'm fine with some outside interference. It doesn't ruin a match for me.
Right.
But when you do it over and over and over and over, and it was very clear what was happening here, I was like, all right, guys, like this is getting a little tropey, a little dated, a little passe. Like, I don't know.
Right. Honestly, like, I think they should have had one major Gato, like, interference. Because I liked when, Ibushi was a no-selling Gato's attacks and then, like, just dropped him. Like, he should have been done after that. He should have not been able to come back from the match. But then he came back in again.
It just was egregious. It just kept happening. And third from the top, I guess it was fine. But for how good of a match they were having, it just didn't really fit the story. It didn't fit the moment. One thing, though, that I think is worth mentioning, we kind of anticipated Jay White and Kota Ibushi being a number one contenders match going forward. It doesn't seem to be that way at all.
Right.
It actually seems to be that whoever lost the match had the more interesting story going forward. And that's not just me saying that out of a biased perspective because I'm a Kota Ibushi fan. But if you look at what happened on New Year's Dash, the guy who won ends up in a consolation feud with a peripheral guy as opposed to being a real title contender or challenger. But you have someone like Ibushi who lost here, just like he lost in the Dome the year before against Ospreay. And you kind of have a compelling story built out of it. So I'm kind of wondering if it's not similar to like when he lost the IC title to Naito and the loser is the real winner here.
Right.
And the winner is kind of in limbo because this, there was people who were like, well, why are they doing a third place match if it doesn't mean anything? We're like, well, they're going to be a first place, they're going to be a number one contender. They're probably not now.
Right.
And we'll talk about why, but they're probably not. So it does kind of make you wonder, why did this even happen? And there are some people complaining because they're like, oh, well, it's to keep the heat on Jay White. I'm wondering if it's not to get the simpy on Ospreay or on Ibushi.
Probably is, yeah.
It probably is.
Yeah. And so if you cut out all the interference, like this match would have been...
It was good.
It would have been way better than what it was.
But then it sucked.
Yeah.
And it was long.
Yeah, thing was like
25 minutes almost.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was fine. But if you're a Jay White fan, here's the thing: Jay White's still a fantastic wrestler. He's still as good as ever. But like in the Dome, these are two really sour tasting performances back to back.
Yeah.
And it gives the detractors against Jay White a lot of ammunition.
Yeah.
And I'm at the point where I don't even want to defend him anymore because I'm like, well, let this man defend himself,
Right.
If he wants to come out here and have bangers, let him come out here and have bangers. If he wants to come out here and fuck off, let him come out here and fuck off. Like, it's whatever at this point. Like,
right.
Like I'm not that man's keeper.
Here's what I will say, though. I'll take this Jay White crap over clowns trying to smash people with hammers with red lights, over spooky perverts attacking top stars, over wedding love triangle angles. I'll take this Jay White stuff all day compared to all that other stuff. So that's what I'll say about that.
Yeah, but that goes without saying. It's New Japan. It's way better. It's the best wrestling in the world.
Well, I just got to put that in perspective for some people.
Okay. So let's go to the semi-main event of the night. The AEW World Champion, Le Champion, Y2J, Chris Jericho, taking on the ace of the universe, Hiroshi Tanahashi. And the stipulation for this match was, if Tanahashi wins, he receives a title shot against Jericho for the AEW World Championship.
Yes. And big news here, so we were joking about Ryuli earlier, or ROH title, no mention of it. Jericho wearing the AEW title down to the ring, and they put it over on commentary. They actually said the letters AEW, the announcers. They called him AEW champion Chris Jericho. So several mentions of All Elite Wrestling AEW throughout commentary.
Yeah, and the crowd popped once the gold was revealed, they popped for the announcement, and conversely, you compare it to like the ROH title in years past, and they do
Right.
shit.
I mean, they had Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, which those guys have awesome matches, and look around, they didn't give
Not only that, but Jay Lethal as well.
Right. Yeah.
No response. Yeah. No sell from the crowd. The crowd was no selling that ROH fucking gold belt. They didn't care. But here they cared. Obviously, it's on Jericho, who's a much bigger star than all those guys combined, honestly. But that makes sense. So, but not only that, but like they did a good job taking a cold match and building it to being one of the most important matches of the weekend. So there's definitely an awareness of AEW in Japan. Now, I did listen to a reaction show with Floyd Johnson and Beast Mike over on
Danny Kugler.
I'm sorry, Danny Kugler. I apologize. On Get in the Ring. Shout out to those guys. And Floyd might have been a little hyperbolic, but he's like, it's very clear that there's a working relationship in the works between these two companies. And I know he's listening, so shout out to Floyd. But I just want to say there's not a working relationship in the work between these guys. There are the building like steps or stones to a potential down the line relationship between them, but they're not working together right now. And this was kind of addressed very clearly by Chris Jericho during his post-match interview, where he said, he kind of addressed it in character, but also in kayfabe all at the same time, also honestly, so it was kind of weird. But he was like, we kind of he basically said we went into business for ourselves.
Right, yeah. And
then we went to Tony Khan and we're like, hey, we did this. What do you think? And he was like, hey, Tanahashi's losing anyways, so it's fine. And New Japan was like, Tanahashi's losing anyways.
So it's fine.
So it's fine. Just like we've been saying for weeks.
Right. And plus, it was essentially free publicity for AEW.
For both companies.
Right. Because if Japanese fans or New Japan fans didn't really know about AEW, and they saw that, like, oh, what's this AEW thing?
But then there's the intrigue on the Japanese side. They're like, oh, if our boy wins, he might be able to go over and get that belt.
Right. Bring it back.
Bring it back.
Bring it home
to the motherland. But so no harm, no foul. But at the same time, it shows the desire from the fan base to maybe see these type of different groups work together. But in no ways does that mean that these two groups are working together. And it's very clear from people who are in the know, people who are on the inside. AEW and New Japan do not have a working relationship. There's a lot of kinks, a lot of issues.
Still a lot of politics. There's still a lot of, sour grapes on both sides and management that need to be steamed out before anything can happen.
Yes, but, the fact that, we were in Dallas and it was very clear not to ask any questions about AEW.
Right, yeah, when we were in the presser, the Q&A.
It was very clear not to do that. And, people wanted to talk about Mox. They wanted to talk about Jericho. Those were two things that were very
hot topics
that were happening. And we were not allowed to talk about AEW at all. That's a huge change from, them showcasing the AEW World Championship in the Tokyo Dome in front of 30,000 people plus. It's a big deal. So they did a great job really building this match. And I got to tell you, this is one of my favorite matches of the entire weekend.
Dude, I loved this match, dude. This is awesome. You have two, A-class veterans in here, guys who even at their age are great performers. They know how to tell a story. Two superstars, and it was an awesome match.
The whole time I was watching, I was like, Jericho is so good. Tanahashi is so good.
Yes.
Jericho actually said that this is the best Tokyo Dome match he's ever had. And there are going to be people who question that and probably argue and say he's had better matches with Kenny Omega. Oh, for sure. There are people who are going to be like, that's a 5-star match. It's much better than this. And there's going to be people who say the Naito match was better. In the quote-unquote star rating spectrum, I went about 4.5 on this, which is probably in the high end of the spectrum, but that's how much I liked it. But Jericho was like, this is the best match I've ever had in the Tokyo Dome. And they asked him during the press conference why he felt that way. And he was like, the timing, this guy was so like, he's like, our philosophies on wrestling are so similar. This is one of the smoothest and most crisp and most like perfect, concise stories that you could probably find when it comes to a wrestling match. Everything was like, yes, it was gritty and hard hitting, but it was like perfect. And I don't know, man. Like there were elements of this that did remind me of the Cody match, but like this is like a higher level.
Which Cody match?
With Jericho.
Okay.
But this is like a higher level of that because of like Tanahashi's tenure and like how these guys were able to like read each other. It's like two masters of their craft, just like plying their trade. It was amazing.
Right. I doubt they like really planned this match out. They probably
no.
Yeah, there's like they went out there and pretty much called it in the ring, pal, like the true veterans that they are. And yeah, this had a great match. I loved just a lot of the taunting. Back and forth, there was Jericho strumming the guitar on Tanahashi at one point. There was another point where Tanahashi did the "Come On, Baby" Jericho taunt, going for a pin like Jericho used to do in WWE. Still does it sometimes, but that was pretty cool. And just a lot of great back and forth here. Just so much good stuff that these guys did.
Yeah, I just I really, really, really love this. Jericho is like ugly at this point. Like he comes out there and like he can show elements of like what he was when he was younger, but he's not trying to work like he was when he was younger. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And Tanahashi comes out there with like just awesome gear. Like his dome gear this year was
awesome.
Some of my favorite that he's ever had. It was just so great. And it was like a departure between the two. You've got like Jericho, who's like, yes, he can still go. Yes, he's a fantastic talker. Yes, he's a great character, but he's like kind of disgusting at this point. Especially in the Painmaker like outfit and the gear, and like he's got the weight belt and is like,
it's like a grimy old man.
He's starting to get kind of gross.
I loved all Tanahashi's counters to the juice effect.
Yeah, Tanahashi like studied the juice effect, and you notice he never got hit with the juice effect at all.
He put the hands up, he dodged it, ducked it. Yeah, it was awesome.
There's actually there's a match between Ricky the Dragon Steamboat and Jake Roberts from '86. It's on the network, actually. It's from Boston Gardens, where Jake Roberts was studying Rick Steamboat, and every time he would try to chop him, he put up both of his arms and he would block it.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love that idea that guys like study each other and they like come up with plans to like defeat one another.
Right, and we had both of these guys attempting each other's moves. Tanahashi hit Jericho for Codebreaker.
Yeah.
At one point, Jericho tried the high fly flow, didn't quite hit it.
Tanahashi went for a high five flow and Jericho countered it into a Codebreaker. That was the one wonky thing that didn't kind of look right.
Right, because I think the problem was like Tanahashi was slipping.
Yeah.
When he was trying to get his footing. And so I think Jericho had got up too fast because Tanahashi hadn't quite in position.
The timing was weird.
Right. So it was like at the point, like Jericho's already up. Like he could have moved out of the way, but.
Well, that's what happens when you buy new boots for the Dome. You need to, wear those boots in.
You're right. You need to wear something that's broken in already. Yeah.
Break those boots in.
Right.
But this match was masterclass storytelling. It was just really, really incredible. And Jericho picked up the win here with the
Lion Tamer.
The Lion Tamer. And the thing is, like, there was a few points where he locked it in once or twice before, and it was so close to Tanahashi tapping. So when he finally locked it in like a third time, I was like, oh, fuck.
And the first few times, it was more of like the walls of Jericho, yeah. Boston Crab. But at the end there, he put that traditional WCW Lion Tamer on that man, bent it back.
Yeah, and once he tapped, it was the right time. It was the right moment. He tapped out. I was rooting for. I knew Jericho's winning. I called it on the show, but I was rooting for Tanahashi. As a diehard Tanahashi fan, I was shouting. I was like, "Come on, Tanahashi!" Like I was shouting, bro. But like I knew he was going to tap out, and he did. And that was the right call. I think we kind of thought maybe like a juice effect, but I'm glad he didn't get laid out. There were people who were like, "I can't believe Tanahashi tapped out in the dome on the big stage," and I'm like, dude. Anyone who says that's not watching New Japan. This guy gets tapped not all the time.
Right.
But like,
have they not seen the Sabre matches?
Yeah, he's been tapped by Sabre. He's been tapped by Sonata. He's been tapped by people. Like, it's just that, like, we here at Social Suplex, we're very good at finessing. So I don't respect when other people try to finesse, but then it's very apparent that like I'm like, you're not watching this. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna finesse, like do your you don't have to have watch that shit, but at least research a little bit. Don't say anything that's too out of left field that's gonna give away that you're not watching this. And obviously there's a lot of publications that are like wanting to cover it because it's a big show.
Right.
But I can listen within 5 minutes of listening to a podcast, I can tell you whether they really watch New Japan or not. And I can tell you half the shows I listened to over the last 3 days, half of them don't watch New Japan.
That's why you come to the Ace of Podcasts to get your New Japan coverage.
But this match was great. The story was great. This was one of the coldest matches going into the Dome, and it ended up being one of the best stories, best built matches. And Jericho did a fantastic job in the post-match. I highly recommend his post-match interview if you haven't listened to it. And I think it could potentially lead to something down the line. If, he did say, he's like, I'm not an executive VP. I'm not owner of the company. I'm just the champion. So I can't make the decisions about whether we work together or not. But he's like, but I think we should from a business perspective. And he even said, he's like, I'll give Tanahashi a title shot. And he was like, I want to work with Ibushi, Suzuki, Jay White. Like, he lists a bunch of people, and I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. Like, I want to see it.
Yeah. So, yeah, looking forward to hopefully more AEW New Japan interactions. So now
This felt like an unofficial title match.
You know what?
It pretty much was.
They should have just called it a title match. Like, Jericho's winning. Like, just say, oh, Tanahashi's getting a title shot.
Nah, they weren't ready to do all that.
I know. They were like... But, so now we're on to the main...
They didn't want to go all the way in, just the tip.
We're now at the main event, the IWGP Champion versus the IWGP Intercontinental Champion, the double title match, the finale of the Double Gold Dash, Tetsuya Naito versus Kazuchika Okada.
Man, 6 years, most protected match in the last 2 years for sure in the company. Two biggest stars. I mean, what do we say here? Highest stakes in the history of, this podcast, at least in a match. Like, I don't know what we talk about here. There's so many angles.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. So, you made your prediction that Okada Ibushi was going to be the match of the weekend.
It was.
Oh, no, hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's going to be the match of the weekend. Like, nothing's going to top it. And you look at this match compared to that match. Yes, from an in-ring standpoint, Okada Ibushi was the better match. But then if you factor in the story and just this 6-year odyssey, the culmination of this story that we've been following since we started the show in the fall of 2017, like this has been one of the biggest narratives and questions that we've gotten throughout the years of doing this show. And just to see the culmination of this moment, all the callbacks to all those matches that we've reviewed and matches we've watched. And to me, I thought it was the perfect blend of story and action in the ring. And I went the full 5 on this as well.
Oh, I'm 5. I'm 5 on this. 3 5-star matches in 2 days. What the fuck? There have been entire years where there have been no 5-star matches in the entire industry of wrestling, and that's legit. You know, I'm glad you're here because, yeah, you're absolutely right. When I first started listening to Voices of Wrestling podcast, they kind of like alluded to the idea that the Tanahashi and Okada feud was something that propelled them to become fans of New Japan Pro Wrestling, that drew audiences to their publication, to their website, to their writing, everything of that nature, and kind of defined the era of their growth for their show. Conversely, I would say Naito and Okada is that for us.
Yeah.
I know that over the past 2 years, these guys really haven't locked up. So it would almost seem like, well, what are you talking about? You know, it's not like you guys spend a lot of time talking about the rivalry or the feud between Okada and Naito. But what are we spending most of our time talking about? We're talking about Okada's trajectory, and we're talking about Naito's trajectory. And it all started with that fateful Tokyo Dome match 2 years ago when everybody thought Naito should have gotten the strap. From that time period, we went through Naito's ups and downs in the IWGP Intercontinental Division. We talked about Okada's legendary title reign, his feud with Kenny Omega, dropping the belt, going through his haywire phase, his feud with Jay White, regaining his old self, regaining the belt. And then finally we wound up here at the Double Gold Dash with, you know, Okada being the dominant, defining champion of the decade and of New Japan today, and Naito being the dark ace, the guy who was the underdog, but also at the same time the biggest star from a fan perspective and from a merch perspective and from a popularity perspective. You've got the two biggest stars who have years. I mean, we're talking about from like 2011, 2012 history with one another. And, you know, two prior Dome Show matches with one another, you know, the history with these two particular belts. And you know, this is the match that had to happen. And we said it for a long time. I mean, all year we've been saying that this had to happen, and it finally happened. And yes, it wasn't quite the same style of epic as Ibushi was. It wasn't the same sort of level of athleticism that you got in the Ospreay and Hiromu match. But when it comes to fan investment, fan interaction, and that's not to say that this wasn't a great match. It was. But nothing got the fans in the Tokyo Dome to... You compare any match on night one with 40,000 fans to this match on night two with 30,000 fans, this blows any of those matches away from fan reaction, period.
Yeah. I 100% agree with you. The crowd, they were totally invested in
They're living and dying.
Right. Every near fall, they were on the edge of their seats, hoping and praying that Tetsuya Naito would finally be able to pull it out here and defeat Okada in the Dome and become the IWGP champion again.
And also these guys both came out with like all the swag in the world. We already talked about like Okada's gear, but like Naito came out with like the white. Like when he came out in the white, I was like, yeah, this man about to win the belts.
And it's funny, dude. This whole match, I just thought back to Dallas when we were in the press room. And I remember you saying, look at Naito's face and the way he's talking. Like, this guy, you were like, he's winning the G1. He's going to win the title.
I knew he's winning the titles in the Dome. Based on the way he talked, if you remember my question and the way he responded to my question, like, and I know we can be marks for ourselves, blah, 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 whatever. But there's very few things I'm as proud of it when it comes to this podcast as it was that moment with me and Naito when I was like, talk to us about you and Okada. Talk to us about the Dome. And I probably said it in a longer form, but when he said it, I was like, oh shit, he's beating Okada and he fucking knows it.
Right. And so as soon as the whole match, I just thought back to that moment and his answers in Dallas. And if you guys want, it's in the archives on the RSS feed. Look up G1 Q&A from Dallas, and it's there you could hear us interviewing these guys. But yeah, man, this was just beautiful. Pro wrestling, man, at its best. It's just beautiful. I loved this match. It was very fitting main event here. So much great stuff. Freaking Naito hitting the Stardust press, the move that cost him the title 2 years ago.
So we talked about that, previously, where like his hubris and his, in the past, prior to him going ingobernables, was the fact that he was the Stardust genius, that he was this low rent version of Tanahashi, that he was trying to play and placate himself to the fans. And then he kind of went away from that. He became ingovernable and, everything of that nature. And then finally on that night when it was him and Okada at Wrestle Kingdom, what was that, 12?
Yep.
His hubris got the best of him. He tried to revert to that what he had tried to be previously, that beloved image of the Stardust genius. He was no longer LIJ Naito. He was trying to regain his former self as the Stardust genius. And he tried one too many things too many times, and he got caught. He missed the Stardust press. He went too many times for the Destino. He got caught. He got beat, and he lost to a better man that night. So on this night, when he went for the Stardust press, people were freaking out, but I was like, that's not Stardust genius, Naito.
That's Ingobernables.
That's Ingobernables, Naito, saying, I can fucking hit you with the Stardust press because I'm Naito, and fuck it. I can do whatever the fuck I want. And I was like, hell yes. Like, this man does not give a fuck anymore. And like, he did not go into that. He was spitting all over Naito. Like, he was not playing to the crowd. He was not trying to regain his former self. He was being LIJ Naito the entire match. Like, there was no deviating from what brought him to the dance. And some people might think like, oh, he hit Gloria, and oh, he hit the Stardust press. And he was like, bitch, I can pull those out whenever I want to.
Right. And so, yeah, hit that Stardust press. He nailed it, but got on the near fall.
Dude, I thought he won. But he shouldn't have won there because that's an allusion to his old self. And like, it was a great moment because he didn't miss it.
Yeah, and then eventually he hits the Destino one last time. 1, 2, 3, Dome erupts. We have a new double champion. Tetsuya Naito achieves his Destino.
One last thing before we move on. The moment where they were in the center of the ring, trading forearms, I don't know if I've ever seen a moment in New Japan ever, and I've been watching almost my whole life in various different iterations. I've never seen any crowd react to forearm trades like that, where it was like, quiet. It was like a soccer stadium. Like, that was like one of those moments where I was like, oh, this is fucking legendary. Like, this match, I understand that the other matches were cosmetically better and maybe more entertaining to a certain degree, but these were high-level storytelling and high-level pro wrestling presentations. This was every bit as good as those other two matches. It's 5 stars.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Dave's going to go 5 stars on all 3 of those matches.
Right.
So, also, I'm surprised. Now, when it comes to match of the year, I think those first 2 matches on night 1 are better. But on cage match and on grapple, this match is higher. Well, or at least it was the last time I checked.
I think it's only by 0.1, though.
It's still crazy.
And there's less people have put their votes in. So.
That's still crazy.
Yeah.
That's still crazy. I don't know if it's going to shake out that way by the end of the year, but that's crazy that right now it is.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
I mean, I think it's the match of the year candidate.
Oh, I mean, it's a 5-star match. Of course it is.
So we get the post-match. Okada's helped back up. Naito's cutting his promo. Says, Okada, we need to do it again. Okada raises his fists, LIJ style.
I loved that. I loved that he, recognized that he bested him and he's in the aisle and he raises his fist up. Like, that was so cool.
Then Naito is presented the championships. He lays them down and poses. Thanks all the fans and that are watching and finally see him flip the script. And he says, what will he do with the 2 belts? He says, tranquilo, asenayo. He says he will never forget this weekend. He will take these belts into the future. He starts doing his roll call. Bushi, Evil, Sanada, Shingo, Hiromu. Takagi. Los Ingobernables. Gets knocked out by Kenta. And this man, Kenta, comes out here, ruins the moment, ruins the celebration, lays this man out with the PK, go to sleep, crisscross applesauce on this man's chest, Shibata style, holding both the titles. Crowd booing, hated it, heat.
You know what? I'll disagree with you a little bit. Kind of booing. But I wouldn't say booing. Like, I wouldn't say that was nuclear heat. If, in my opinion, it seemed like the air just kind of went out of the building. Like, they stuck around. This 30,000 was like a hardcore fan base, more so than that 40 from the night before. They were there to see Naito win. It was very clear that the fans were sort of exhausted from the night before and kind of tired. And then once the Y2J match happened, they perked up. But once the main event came around, they came to life. And they were elated, ecstatic at the idea of Naito winning. And then when Naito's doing the roll call and everyone's waiting for the moment, and then the Kenta move comes in, they just kind of died, bro. Like, they just kind of died. Like, they were booing, but it was like that, like, obligatory boo, like the boo. Fuck.
Well, yeah, man, the moment that we've all been waiting for.
But is that the heat that you want?
Well,
it could be. It could be. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that this was, from a business perspective, a mistake. But it very well could be.
We'll find out New Beginning in Osaka.
If you judge strictly from the in a vacuum from the reaction to the Tokyo Dome, it for sure was. For sure. This is not the kind of reaction you want to this sort of angle where like a babyface is rejoicing after a 6-year odyssey. I get what they were going for. This was Tommy Dreamer beating Raven, and then Jerry Lawler and his cohorts showing up, coming out of the dark and attacking him. Mega heat. This didn't draw mega heat. It should have drawn mega heat. Instead, it was apathy and disappointment and the kind of shit that we complain about when we watch WWE, because they do stuff for heat's sake and don't actually get the kind of heat that we think they should be. This is like Baron Corbin heat. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It left people in the dome and watching feeling very sort of deflated. It was very similar to like the Chris Jericho after Dominion. And I want to say this. There are people who really defended that Chris Jericho segment during Dominion when he attacked Okada and it got heat and people were upset. But what happened, and people were like, oh, you don't get wrestling because you weren't supposed to leave happy. That's going to make the feud between him and Okada hotter and the feud between him and Tanahashi hotter. If it was true, then why did they have to go the AEW title route 6 months later when it was the coldest thing on the entire card? No one remembered that shit or cared about it. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Now, it might be different with the Kenta thing. We're going to talk about New Year's Dash, and so they've got something to build on. And if they do a good job with VTRs, who knows? But in a vacuum, in the moment, it was probably the wrong call, if you want my honest opinion. Now, this was a judgment call. Who knows what Gato wants to do? Gato might do something different, or might have a different plan, idea in mind. I think part of the idea here is that they're afraid that all these people who are ardent and strong Naito supporters are going to abandon him the moment that they give the big payoff. Mm-hmm. Sort of like the Bryan thing, And so they might think like, oh, well. But I also have this fear. I'm like, you guys keep making this guy look like a bitch every time you give him a big moment. people are going to abandon him in one way or the
Regardless,
other.
right?
Regardless, he doesn't look that strong. Even after beating Okada, you're kind of burying the entire company. But whatever, like I get it. It's wrestling, whatever. But I feel like this. If you wanted to set up Kenta, okay, here's the thing that really sucks. Kenta got beat clean by Goto earlier in the night. I understand losing up. I understand building to a future feud, but they probably shouldn't have done it in the same night. They probably shouldn't have. And they're like, I get the logic. They're like, oh, well, Kenta is a heel who is illogical. He lost that night and he thinks he's deserving of a title shot. So he's attacking, Naito and ruining his moment and thinking he's deserving, even though he's quote unquote not, because he already lost that night. So it makes him even more despicable. But to some people who are logical, they're just going to think like, well, this guy's a loser. He doesn't deserve the shot. And he beat up our champion. So now everyone looks weak.
I could see that, but based off of tradition of losing up in this company, I mean, we saw Minoru Suzuki lose clean to Hiroki Goto at Wrestle Kingdom, and then he's getting what
he did not attack Okada the same night.
No, but I mean, he still got title shot, a higher title.
When he attacked him later.
Right.
And he had years of... Okay, I agree with you. I think that Kenta is a viable challenger. Mm-hmm. Look at his resume. But he shouldn't have attacked in the same night. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
They should have built at least a 24-hour space before he did it. And also, like, they should have just given people the moment. Like, can you imagine if Daniel Bryan was holding those top two titles over his head in the fucking New
Orleans.
Yeah, whatever that dome is in New Orleans, and then Kane attacks him to set up the Extreme Rules match. Can you imagine how fucking pissed he'd be? This was that for those fans there.
Right, it was. Yeah, I'm not arguing that. Definitely, if you're LIJ fan or fan of that building, like, being that great moment, like you got the win taken out of you.
I know that, like, you don't always have to send the fans home happy, but on the big shows, maybe you should. I think it's a ballsy move, and if ultimately it works out for New Japan and Gato's right, then fine. I'll be like, you know what, that was fine. Maybe I didn't agree with it at the time, but it's fine. I'm willing to say that, but I'll tell you right now, I think it's not going to work out as well as they think it is.
I don't know. Based off what I heard from New Year's Dash, and we're going to roll into that right now, I think they might get what they're looking for.
That is possible, but keep in mind that the New Year's Dash fans are similar to, like, the Raw after WrestleMania fans, the most diehard of diehard insidery fans that you possibly could get. It's not as indicative of the broader fan base. The broader fan base is that Wrestle Kingdom fan. They were pretty silent.
But
they went off the air like quiet.
But one thing though, with that Raw after Mania crowd, they have started to set the trend for what
That's
other
true.
crowds do, chants, moments, things
For
they
a few
do.
weeks.
Well, when you have completely bad booking, it's kind of hard to keep that momentum. But anyway.
But this is a brand. This is a feud that they're going to need to sell out Osaka Joe Hall off of.
Right.
There is the thought that I was like, well, maybe the reason they're doing this is because they're trying to keep Naito sympathetic and chasing, even though he's the champion. There's also the idea that I was like, maybe Kenta hasn't done as hot as they'd like him to do, and they're trying to heat him up because they're probably paying him a really big contract. And up to now, he probably hasn't moved business to really warrant that big contract. And maybe this is the way that they try to generate buzz and draw a big house off of his name credential. And that is a protected match. We've never seen Naito and Kenta ever. That's the main reason that I kind of predicted maybe Ibushi would beat Jay White. Because when we thought that was the number one contender match, I was like, well, what's going to do better in Osaka Joe Hall?
Right.
But neither of those matches are happening. Instead, it's going to be this Kenta match. I think that you could have hypothetically done a more effective attack angle during New Year's Dash, and there are some people who question that. They're like, well, that's too like on the nose. Like everyone knows that New Year's Dash is where the feuds happen. Mm-hmm. And so this was more unexpected. But if you want my opinion, it's a tried and true method. Have the happy moment at Wrestle Kingdom. Do the attack the next night. Draw the heat. But this was his judgment call. Gato thought it would be better in front of a bigger audience with more eyes on it to do the attack at Wrestle Kingdom versus New Year's Dash, which is the secondary show. And that's what I was alluding to when I started the show. And I said, it's judgment calls. This might not be worse. It really is only worse if it affects business. I think it might, but it really just comes down to whether New Beginning draws or not.
Right, which is what we'll see. Based on the build-up, we'll see what they do on the road to New Beginning and see what happens there.
I did not leave the night 2 feeling anything like night 1, though, and I should have, based off of how defining that moment and how historic it was.
Yeah.
I felt disappointed.
I mean, it kind of was. I mean, it was like, man, like...
It sucked the air out of everything.
Right.
And some people might be like, that's good booking, but I'm like, is it? Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see. At the end of the day, I know it's like a horrible excuse, but they got people talking.
They don't do this sort of thing in New Japan very often.
Right.
So that's one of the things is like when they do this sort of thing, they kind of have some goodwill.
Right. So let's roll in the New Year's Dash. We're going to
have to speed through it.
Yeah, we're going to cover this really quickly. I'm just going to kind of go over the results and some of the key angles here so we can get out of here. I know it's been 3.5 hours, and thank you guys for listening. I know you guys like the long episodes, and so appreciate you listening. So New Year's Dash we had here in Ota City Gymnasium, so obviously bigger than the Cork and Hall crowd. We had Carl Fredericks, Alex Coughlin, and Clark Connors defeating Hanare, Yuyamura, and Yota Tsuji. Pretty good opening match, but it does kind of feel like kind of weird with Hanare coming off that win in the Dome, and then now he's on the losing end with the Young Lion Boys.
I'm not too surprised. It's not like he took the pinfall himself. They wanted to highlight the LA Dojo Young Lions, so it kind of made a little bit of sense. That's pretty much. I mean, I thought this is a really fun match. I thought it was one of the best matches of the night, actually.
Yeah, it was really good.
The interesting thing to me was when Yota Tsuji attacked the LA Dojo Young Lions in the rampway after the match was over. Kind of propelling and continuing the feud between the LA Dojo Young Lions and the LA, Tokyo.
Yeah. So then we had a non-title fatal 4-way junior tag match, Desperado and Kanemaru.
Very rare match in New Japan.
Right. Desperado and Kanemaru defeated Roppongi 3K, Bushi and Hiromu, and Ishimori and Phantasmo. Thought it was...
Spot Fest.
Yeah, Spot Fest, a good match.
I liked it a lot more than the junior tag title match during Wrestle Kingdom.
And Desperado and Kanemaru get the pin on, I believe they pinned Show. So guess what, Josh? We get some more Roppongi 3K versus Suzuki-gun in junior tag title.
This is the feud that will never end. This is the eternal junior tag team title feud. Literally 1 year ago, we were watching. I guess it wasn't exactly these guys, but like, I'm just like, dude, we've seen so many matches between the Suzuki-gun Juniors and Roppongi 3K. If I don't see it again for the rest of my life, I'm fine. We literally saw like a trilogy between these guys just this year on the what's it called tour?
Which tour?
The Super Juniors Tag League.
Oh yeah.
At least we saw 2 of those matches at least. I'm just like, fuck. Like I don't need to see it again.
Yeah.
But it's gonna happen again, and this is one of those things where it's like we don't have enough junior tag teams.
Right.
So, yeah.
So then we had Kota Ibushi, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Juice Robinson, David Finlay defeating Bullet Club, which was comprised of Bad Luck Fale, Chase Owens, and Guerrillas of Destiny. Ibushi, Tanahashi, and FinJuice get the win. And after the match, Ibushi and Tanahashi challenge FinJuice for the tag team titles.
Which is exciting, but also you can do a lot of cool things from that. You can lead that into some sort of who knows, man. I mean, you could start a faction with you could have like Tanahashi and Ibushi lose, and one of them splits off and starts a faction with the winners, and maybe they all turn on the one guy. You could have Ibushi and Tanahashi headline as like a mega team.
Like we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Like,
Yep.
how you inject some life in this tag division. You put two stars that are not in the title picture right away. You put them together and have them run with the titles.
You could cause friction between Tanahashi and Ibushi and start a feud between the two of them that goes forward. You could cause one of these guys to start to go down a dark path and turn into a heel between, there's a lot, or vice versa. On the other side of things with Finjuice, you could do the same thing.
They can turn, yeah.
There's a lot of booking decisions and opportunities that you have when it comes to this. This is one of the most interesting and exciting things that's happened to the IWGP heavyweight tag team division in a long time. And it kind of makes sense because of the fact that you've got Ibushi coming off of 2 losses as well as Tanahashi. And so it's kind of a crossroads turning point for them. Go to the tag team division.
Right.
I like it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. It's going to be fun. Hey, maybe they'll give us that match in St. Pete then if they're not going to give us Mox.
I thought about that.
that would be pretty awesome. So then we had the match of the night. We had Shingo and Evil defeating Tomohiro Ishii and Hiroki Goto in the Strong Style tag team match. 4 hosses just brutalizing each other.
This could be a Strong Style Fight of the Year candidate.
I think it could.
It's really good. Like, this was so good. Yeah, this was on par with some of the best stuff during Wrestle Kingdom. And, we usually get a really good match during Dash, but it doesn't usually peak this high. This match was awesome.
Yeah, this was awesome. Definitely go out of your way and watch. If you're going to watch anything, definitely watch this match.
This kills anything in the tag league this year.
Oh, yeah. Crushed it.
Also, we literally on the air were like, well, we've been calling for Goto and Ishii for a long time, but we're like, what if we got Goto and Ishii against Evil and Takagi? We've literally said that on the air, and it finally happened, and we're like, fuck.
It was awesome.
It was every bit as good as we thought it would be, and more so. This match ruled.
Then we had Kazuchika Okada.
Wait. We got a.
That's right.
That's
right. After the match, Shingo cut a promo. So Shingo pinned Goto with Last of the Dragon. Shingo cut a promo challenging Goto for the Never Openweight title down the line, and then also Evil and Ishii also were staring down each other. So we're probably gonna get another Evil Ishii singles match.
Correct.
So then that brings us to Okada, Will Ospreay, and Robbie Eagles and Yoshihashi. They defeated Minoru Suzuki, Lance Archer, Zack Sabre Jr., and Taichi by disqualification.
Yes.
So Taichi, he brought out the Iron Glove, the Iska Iron Glove that he picked up after the Iska retirement show, and hit Okada with it, choked him out with the mic stand. Looks like we are setting up a Okada-Taichi feud, which I think is very interesting. I think that's kind of a cool matchup, especially if we get strong style Taichi against Okada. That could be really great.
I don't know if I'd call it cool because I don't know if Taichi's really to that level yet. But I mean, it's reminiscent of what they did the last 2 years with him and Naito coming out of the New Year's Dash. I feel like when you're in doubt with a character, they just pair him up with Taichi at Dash and set something up for New Beginning. So. I would like maybe a slightly... This kind of comes from out of nowhere, but it's not the worst thing in the world. The match would probably be good.
Right. And so also in this match, they teased Zack Sabre Jr. versus Will Ospreay for the Rev Pro British title. Ospreay grabbed the belt before the match, and they brawled all throughout the match.
Ospreay kept trying to come out to save Okada, and Zack Sabre was choking him out in the aisleway and was preventing him from getting back into the rings. That was like a big element to the match.
Right. And then post-match, Taichi continues the attack on Okada. He's looking for the last ride powerbomb, but then Jon Moxley comes out of the crowd, comes in the ring, and Taichi makes a beeline out the ring, and then
this was a cool moment, but didn't make a lot of sense to me.
Why not?
Why would Jon Moxley save Okada?
He wasn't coming to save Okada. He was coming to get Suzuki.
But Suzuki wasn't out there.
Yeah, he was on the ringside.
Oh, was he? I thought he was in the back.
No, so he was laying down. He was like sitting down on ringside watching Taichi beat up Okada. And then so Taichi got out the ring, and then Suzuki came in and was like, okay.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that makes a little more sense.
Let's run it. And then they started going at it back and forth.
The way I thought about it was like, I just was like, well, Mox is probably in town, and he's just like, fuck it, I'm not booked, so I'm gonna do something.
Let me get three checks.
Yeah. Well, technically, in my mind, he didn't get paid for this. This wasn't a match. He just interfered. He probably got fined, if anything. It probably cost some money.
But yeah, so they had a back and forth.
The IWGP does not.
Yeah, they don't mess around with stuff like this. Yeah, he might lose one of his Wrestle Kingdom paydays. But yeah, so he ends up hitting Suzuki with the Death Rider, says not to mess on my territory. So clearly we are getting the Suzuki Moxley US title match somewhere down the line.
Tampa.
Yes, St. Pete Coliseum. Gato, do it. Book it. Don't televise it and put Mox on there.
It's probably happening at New Beginning.
Right, in Osaka, yeah. Well, yeah. And then the main event of the show, we had Tetsuya Naito and Sonata defeating Kenta and Jay White. It was an all right match. Sonata ends up getting the cradle pin over Jay White. And then post-match, Jay White low blows Sonata, and Kenta attacks Naito. They get chairs, attack Sonata and Naito. Of course, Hiromu, Evil, Shingo Ibushi were nowhere to be found. Jake gets the mic. Of course, the crowd's booing them. Jay's saying a new opportunity's come, and he's going to bring Sonata back to reality. Then Kenta grabs the mic, and we're getting instead of Taichi go home, we're getting Kenta go home chants. The crowd was heavily booing, and Kenta go home the whole time, and Kenta was just breathing it in and loving it. And so obviously we're going to get Jay White versus Sonata down the line, and then Kenta obviously is going to be challenging Naito for the double titles. And like I was saying, I feel like this New Year's Dash, but you're right, they are the smart crowd, but I feel like the New Year's Dash crowd really hated Kenta from his entrance all the way down to this moment. Heavy boos, Kenta go home. The go home chant was reserved for Taichi because they hated Taichi so much, and now they're transferring that over to Kenta.
I'd agree.
And that was New Year's Dash.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Not too many big surprises or, re-entries or anything of that nature. Some of the things we've been accustomed in the past. No double crosses. I think that there was a concern about Sonata not winning the belt and being the one lone tag team partner for Naito on night 2, but clearly, it seems like they're building something with him and Jay White. I don't know what that really means going forward for either of them, but that's a pairing that we've never seen really too much of, so that's good.
Right. Kind of a fresh matchup, something for those guys to do in the meantime.
My big concern is the double title. Is it now a double title? Because we kind of thought that he was gonna Naito would probably eventually drop the belt in short order.
Right, and then Chris Charlie even mentioned that like the Tokyo Sports, they didn't know what to call it. Like, is it a double crown? Is it double IWGPs? Or
we don't know what to call it either.
Right, so
that's interesting. I'm hoping that they do the Kenta match, and after the Kenta match, he drops the belt. Because here's my whole thing. I want Naito to be the only guy that's ever held the double championship. And then they don't do it again because it's his thing that he did and accomplished. I don't want to see the IC title absorb. There's some titles I could see absorbed. I'd be fine with it. But the IC belt is the one title that I'm like, I don't really want to see that absorbed into anything else. It's got a really good lineage and really good history. So I think it's a good accolade for Naito, but I think it devalues it if you start, if it just becomes like a double title or a triple title. Like, that's all Japan sort of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just not really into that sort of thing. But I thought that New Year's Dash was good. It was better than the last couple of years, probably. Pretty standard. It was fine.
That tag match. Yeah.
But that tag match peaked really high, yeah.
So, yeah.
And also the Liger retirement.
Oh, that's right. We totally kind of breezed over that. The Liger retirement ceremony opened the beginning of the show. Chaos came out, took pictures of Chaos, the home team, the non-affiliated faction guys, Tanahashi's and Ibushi's, those guys came out and took pictures with Liger. They had the 10-bell salute. Liger's family was out there. They had the
Tanahashi was balling.
Yeah, Tanahashi was
also Sano. I didn't mention this. Sano was bawling at the end of night one. Did you notice that?
Yes, I did, yeah.
He was crying so hard. Yeah, it was an emotional weekend for Liger. Liger he said that he felt very uncomfortable wearing the full bodysuit for his retirement ceremony.
Because he wasn't wrestling, yeah.
Because he wasn't a wrestler anymore and he wasn't wrestling. But I thought that was like 45 minutes of the entire show. Like, if you notice, like, I was 45 minutes into the show and we just finished basically the Liger ceremony, which is it was great. I had smiles.
It was an awesome ceremony.
It was an awesome ceremony. So, but that pretty much does it for New Year's Dash. That does it for our show.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned, next week we are going to have our New Japan guy, Jamie Spector, on the air with us next week to kind of talk about his experience in Tokyo and at Wrestle Kingdom 14. And then, of course, we're going to answer all of your post Wrestle Kingdom questions. And I'm sure we'll have some new beginning announcements and some Fantasticmania announcements. So stay tuned for that.
Night one of Fantasticmania.
Yeah, so get ready for that.
Probably a preview, I'm guessing, as well.
Yeah, so get ready for that. And make sure that you are subscribed so you won't miss that out.
Dude, this is our longest show we've ever done.
Yeah, this is, I think by 5 minutes, it's broken the record.
Oh, fuck.
So, make sure you connect with us on social media. On Twitter, the show is at KI Strong Style. You can find me at Jeremy L. Donovan. You can follow the mothership at Social Suplex. On Facebook, we are facebook.com/Social Suplex. On Instagram, we are at Social Suplex. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. You can email me, Jeremy at socialsuplex.com. If you enjoyed today's show, please consider making a donation. Visit socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. Check out all the other shows on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. On Sundays, we have One Nation Radio, hosted by Rich Latta and James Boyd. On Wednesdays, we have the Ricky and Clyde Wrestling Show from Scotland. Every other Wednesday, we have our podcast dedicated to independent wrestling. Grown Men Watch This Shit, hosted by Jeremy Tate and Chris Bryan. On Fridays, we have Get in the Ring with Danny and Beast Mike. And on Saturdays, we have All Things Elite with Floyd Johnson Jr., Amy O, and Tiffany. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a rating and review, and we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Asanayo. Adios.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.